Within 2 weeks of launching it, maybe 3 weeks, 25 million downloads.
That's a huge accomplishment. You're competing with every top tier app out there.
It was mind blowing. We were doing like 2 million image generations an hour. We've done over 1.5 billion videos. Dreams, we've also
that has to be
1.6 billion. Images generated in the last year. We can generate them a style. This is the kind of style that we've seen that you either like a lot or that you're generating on your own. Now you can put your own spin on it. And furthermore, imagine I connect it to your, let's say, Instagram account. We now have that style and you can use it. And now if you want to monetize off of it, you could. This is just something we've been playing around with. Creators can monetize off their styles.
Welcome everyone to the OG Pod. Today I'm very excited to have Vivek Bhakta, who is the co-founder and head of infrastructure at Wombo.ai. And welcome. Very excited.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we met a couple months ago at a crypto event here in Austin, and I was shocked to see the capabilities of your app. And it's actually, I'm very proud to say, generated the artwork for my podcast.
That's right.
So thank you so much for your creation and contribution and for coming on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm very happy to have you. Okay, so it's a crazy time for AI, man. It's a really exciting time. We have these generators, we have these AI art things. Tell us how you got involved in this world and what's the story?
Yeah, great question. So I started with Wombo thanks to this company, I guess, called Launch House. My brother, it was middle of COVID. My brother, he used to work at Uber with this fellow named Mike Hauk, and he was running this. Have you heard of Launch House, by the way?
Launch House is it an accelerator?
Yeah, kind of like an accelerator. It started out as a place where engineers, product thinkers, builders would they'd go to this house for a month. Everything would be paid for with your little entry fee, and you just hack away. So they started out by going in Tulum. They had a house. They got an Airbnb, and then they made it into a business. They raised some money, all this good stuff. But before they raised money, they got Paris Hilton's mansion in LA.
Hell yeah. Wow.
And so my brother stayed there with
Paris Hilton. How'd they manage that?
So I guess she doesn't live there anymore.
Okay.
But it was Airbnb'd out. And so they paid whatever it was, 30, 40K a month. And then they collected a bunch of rent from people. And then they provided food. They provided guest speakers. I believe Andrew Chen was heavily involved in that. He leads A16Z's gaming division, I believe. And so obviously it's a great place for VCs to find a lot
talent
of deal flow.
And companies and deal flow.
Exactly. And so it's like a hacker house. And there's a ton of these now. But before, there weren't that many. And my brother was roommates with these guys. They were raising money for Wombo with the original app, which was the lip syncing one. I'm not sure if you've seen that one.
I don't know if I have, but you guys have a family of apps.
Yeah, two.
Okay, Dream and
Wombo, the original Wombo.
Okay.
That one was a deep fake lip syncing app. So you take a picture of yourself, you upload your little selfie, and then we cropped your face, and then we sync your face.
I do remember this. Yeah. You guys got in trouble for it.
We did get in trouble for it. Copyrighted music and whatnot. Though it's weird because there's plenty of other apps that do the exact same things. That they actually steal our branding, steal our logo.
Really? Well, that's how you know you're successful, right?
Yeah, but it's crazy because we got removed from the App Store for a little bit for this, but these other apps are still thriving, doing pretty well.
Can you share some stats just to clue people in how legit Dream is?
Yeah, so Dream is huge, but the crazy one was actually Wombo Core, which is what we call the original lip syncing one. Within 2 weeks of launching it, maybe 3 weeks, 25 million downloads.
Wow, 25 million.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then on Dream, we had a slower start, but in May of 22, we were the number one app in 50 plus countries for a couple weeks on both the App Store and the Google Play Store, which was
that's a huge accomplishment. You're competing with every top tier app out there, every other startup.
It was mind blowing. We were doing 2 million image generations an hour.
An hour.
Yeah.
You guys hit some scaling issues.
We did hit some scaling issues.
And you're the man to solve it.
That's what
Head of infrastructure.
Infrastructure, exactly. So we run all of our infrastructure on AWS currently. and we were burning GPUs. At
Yeah.
one point, I think we had like 12,000 or 13,000 GPUs running.
Is that a lot of your background, like infrastructure and what is that layer called?
Like the cloud backend.
Yeah, cloud. Anyway, I'm
Yeah, so
blanking on the technical
I
term.
started out as like a backend engineer,
Okay.
and then the reason I actually joined Wombo was because of infra. They were having scaling issues before they had even like launched live publicly. So I came in, and that's kind of how I joined, was through that. And then I brought them over to AWS, was allowing them to scale, and then now here
So
we
you
are.
guys are getting 25 million downloads in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're the top app of the App Store. Is it just a party? Like what's going on in the office?
Well, for me, it's kind of
Yeah,
crazy, 'cause
everything's
I'm
on
like, ah,
fire.
crap,
Shit's on
everything's
fire.
exactly. I'm like dying over here. I was in Dubai actually with Ben, our CEO, and my co-founder. After one of our other co-founders' sister's wedding in India, we were meeting an investor, and that's when we hit the number one app spot, and it was wild. I didn't sleep for like 50 hours straight because we were like the servers were dying, database was under load. I was on the phone with AWS. Our account manager was helping us. All of our
The
engineers
spend must
were.
be crazy.
Spend was crazy. That month was $1 million month.
$1 million in compute.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
and yeah, it was just like holy crap. And we were like on our high horses. We're like, holy, this is amazing.
You
We're
had
on
the
fire.
capital to fund $1 million? Like, how did you have to raise emergency capital,
So
or
that's a
like how did
great
you?
question because at that time the app was free. We were not monetizing it. We had actually just signed a term sheet, so we were happy. We're like, yeah, let's let the GPUs rip. Then we ran into some issues where the term sheet got pulled from us because of the broader market. There was some crypto stuff going on at the time. I don't know if
What
you
year
remember
was this? Like Terra Luna
This
or?
exactly.
Okay.
There you go. This is Terra Luna.
Yeah, that started it all. The fuse that lit the powder keg of
There it
FTX
is.
and all the rest.
Exactly. And so, they gave us some money. So it was great. And then we're like, okay, like this is taking too long. Due diligence was taking forever. We're like, we need this money to pay some bills. And said, okay, here's some. We'll be back on Monday. If we don't give it to you, we'll give you another lump sum of money. Turns out come Monday, it's like, shit. We're not gonna be able to go through with this. But keep the money that you have already. Like, well, yeah, you have a piece of the company. And so after that, we're like, shit, we gotta aggressively monetize and pay these bills somehow. And so then we had to add ads, and then we had to add a premium subscription. We hate ads. Our CEO, that's why we never weren't monetizing heavy at the beginning, because he's like, ads just make the experience a lot crappier. And the thing that I think makes Wombo as good as it is and makes it get to the top of the app stores is because of the user experience. The user experience is it's amazing. We spend a lot of time on design, and our designers are fantastic.
It is a beautiful app. And easy to use, and you can just to let everyone know, you open it up, you can provide a prompt and get different styles. And can you upload
You can upload input images. So there's this thing called image to image. So like I can take a picture of you here, and then I can try to put an AI generated piece of art over it. So basically what that does is it'll, instead of starting with noise in the diffusion process to get to where you need to go, you can start at this image of you with a little bit of noise, and then moving towards whatever prompt I enter.
So can you walk us through that process of like, how do you actually create these images where you start with noise and you work your way backwards?
Yeah, so I should preface all of this with, by no means am I an AI expert. I'll defer all of that.
You know 1,000 times more than me.
I've learned because of our AI team. They're fantastic. They've been very patient with me and all my ridiculous questions. So what happens generally is you take your noise, which is where we start, and the models that we use are diffusion models. So the way diffusion models work are they're denoising models. So you take a bunch of noise and you keep denoising until you get to where you need to go.
So by where you need to go, you're feeding in a sample image of an apple.
Or in the training
in the training segment.
So you take a picture of an apple and you label it and say apple. That's where the text.
So that's where we know we want to get to.
Exactly.
And we start from noise.
So it's pure static. So you remember
Wow.
popcorn on the TV?
Yeah.
When you look at the static, when you actually decode the latent point of where you're starting from, it just looks like that.
Right. So it's like black and white static.
Yep.
And then it's like working its way progressively somehow to an apple through some magic method called diffusion.
Exactly. So there's like a black box, and this is what we use is actually a technique called latent diffusion. So it's faster, where you're actually moving to the latent space instead of moving to the pixel space. Now you might not get as accurate of an image, but I think that's part of the allure as well.
Is the creative part of it like? What do you mean accurate of an image?
Well, we started out with VQGAN and Clip, which is very different than the models that you see very publicly now, which is like stable diffusion and regular latent diffusion. VQGAN and Clip is a lot more abstract, and this is what we started with before Stable Diffusion open source their.
Who makes Stable Diffusion again?
Stability.
So
you
I
might
guess I
have
don't
heard
know
of
them.
Imad Mostak, I believe is how you say his last name. Brilliant fellow here. Stable Diffusion is like an open source trained version of like a competitor to DALL-E 2.
Yeah.
So DALL-E 2 was trained in a lab, in OpenAI's
By
lab,
OpenAI,
which has billions from like Microsoft and whatnot, and most notably known for recently ChatGPT, which we can get into right after. But Stable Diffusion is latent diffusion. The technique is called latent diffusion. It's called Stable Diffusion because Stability, the company behind it, so they call it Stable Diffusion.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
That's
it's all
funny.
the technique is still diffusion. It's a diffusion model using latent diffusion to traverse through the space.
So diffusion specifically means starting from noise, working your way backwards to the source.
Yep. And then latent diffusion is the faster way of doing it. So they were able to train Stable Diffusion with, I think, sub $1 million. I think it was around $600,000, which is not to say it's cheap, but I'm sure you've seen how good it is.
Yeah.
And not just in our product, it's pretty widely available now. It's pretty.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the results that you can get with these models are so interesting. So one of the things that I keep hearing that I wonder is true from your experience being in the game so directly is that the price of training these models continues to decline year after year. Is that accurate?
That is 100% accurate. So something like this probably 10 years ago would not have cost $600,000. The compute needed would
like 6 million or 60 million, like factors.
So those
like
factors, I can't speculate, but Moore's law
so it's going to be multiples.
Exactly. So there's some multiplier above, right? The A100 by NVIDIA was fantastic. I believe that's all they used to train this. Now, in Q2 of this year, I believe, or maybe end of Q1, hopefully, the H100, NVIDIA's latest and greatest, probably the best GPU in the world right now that's publicly available. The H100 is coming out, and so training is going to get even better.
Better or cheaper?
Cheaper and faster.
Cheaper and faster, because speed is like a big component for this stuff.
So I think there's a lot of, I guess we won't know until the GPUs come out. But from what I've read and seen and heard from NVIDIA and heard from like AWS and Google, it's good at doing FP8 operations.
What's that?
Like floating point 8 and floating point 16. Besides, I don't know, like the rest of it. But it might not be best for everything like inference. So inference is the actual like doing the image generation after the model's been trained. So it might not be the best in the world for inference, but it's damn good at training.
I think for people that don't have like an understanding, I have a very like tenuous grasp on all this, but like the GPUs do computing in a different way than CPUs,
Right.
And now we even have like neural engines
yeah.
and all of them, and we have ASICs with crypto, and all of these are just different ways of doing compute in a more specific way.
Right. So for GPUs, it's matrix multiplication. So GPUs is the graphical processing unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So things work more in parallel with GPUs, or like
you can still parallelize on a CPU as well.
Okay.
But the operations that these neural nets and these AI models are doing, and the diffusion models or whatever model you're working on, right? It's a bunch of math.
Yeah.
And the CPU isn't as purpose built for math, like these mathematical operations, as a GPU is. So you might have heard of something called like ray tracing. So that's a GPU specific kind of task. Now I'm sure in 10 years when CPUs
Could handle it
can
or whatever.
like, you know, get to the level that a GPU, not to say a GPU can handle a CPU's task as well as the CPU can, but the CPU is way more built for CPU bound tasks. So non-matrix multiplication kind of things.
But the basic idea is you have these different processors that are specialized to do work in specific domains. And in your domain, you're primarily working with GPUs. So like this stuff actually really makes a difference. It's going to make a cost difference, a speed difference. And when you're scaling, like when you're thinking about how to build these infrastructure systems to support millions of generations an hour, at peak usage, that's crazy. That's crazy scale. And so like a couple of questions. One, what is like the latency for like a single generation? Like how do you, I mean, because you could make it as, you could run the model at different parameters and it'll take, you know, like how do you tune these models? It seems so complex. It's like an engine. I mean, it is an engine.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So yeah, the short answer is 2.4 seconds.
Okay, so you're setting a user experience threshold.
Exactly. So
That's
we
smart.
could, just like you mentioned, we could keep running the process and run it for more iterations, but at some point you're going to get to an image that
Diminishing returns.
Exactly. Diminishing returns. Perfect word for it. You don't want to go too far because it's going to take you longer for the generation to complete. The user's going to have to wait now, and you're not getting that leap in how much time you have to wait longer in the benefit and the quality of the output.
Right.
So we can the number of steps that we go.
Do you have data on this stuff? Like, have you done any user testing or?
We have.
Okay.
We've actually iterated and updated the number of steps and iterations that we do pretty often.
Because you'd want to like really tune in, and if 1.5 seconds is the ideal, then like, you know, so 2.4 is what you've settled on so far, is like what people, and you have like a fun animation, like it feels like a game. It feels totally fun to use the app. I really encourage everyone to go and download Wombo Dream. Like it's such a pleasure to use.
And that was like not everyone does that, right? Where you can decode each frame. A lot of, like, we can get to it faster, the final image faster, if we didn't show you all those frames.
Yeah.
It's
that's
not
the cool part of it,
and interesting to see the AI like kind of
thinking. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you let people, like, I know on Midjourney, I like Midjourney because it gives you some like more parameterized controls, which I'm sure you guys will introduce as well, or whatever. What was I thinking about Midjourney?
How you can set all your stats.
Oh, you can save a video. Although I don't think in the new model you can. I think you can
in V4.
In V4, I don't think you can anymore. But I thought that was a cool idea to be able to save. Do you? Okay, I haven't played with that
since, before Stable Diffusion.
I'll have to check that out again.
It's pretty cool. It's called we call it a generation video.
Yeah.
So you start from scratch and you take it all the way, and you can watch it again whenever you want.
And what you're literally seeing is the process of the AI thinking through. Incredible.
Yeah. Speaking of Midjourney, they're actually doing very well. They're doing a lot of
biggest Discord server, right?
Yeah. They're blowing up. And so good for them. And also they don't use like Stable Diffusion. They have their own in-house trained models.
Yeah, that is interesting.
They've been doing really well. We've seen their bot and it's pretty good. And so they've brought a lot of people that aren't normal Discord users into Discord.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
To think. And so just kudos to them for that in itself, because
and to Discord, you know, like building a platform you don't know.
Place to build, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it's not the same user experience, and it's much more technical. I think people that are less technically oriented will prefer the UI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're still doing well. Their output quality is just fantastic. And so when we saw that, we're like, damn, what the hell?
Man,
what are we doing?
What's so exciting about all these companies, though, is like you can see people adopting like Dolly 3 or Stable Diffusion or whatever, different models and building products on those or creating their own. Apparently, there's a splinter group of OpenAI that's recreating ChatGPT.
There's a lot of
And so
stuff
like
going
it's
on
going to be
there.
interesting to see this competition, but I think the landscape is wide open
Hmm.
because everyone can optimize in every direction.
And
So
you
you
can
can
fine tune on top of these models
and
as
you can
well.
fine tune, and that I think is going to be the big power. I don't know, like I don't know anything about this. I'm speaking out of turn, but like if I was just to speculate, I would think that you'd always want to rely on a large model supported by a bigger player and then tune that model
Right.
to your own needs, because otherwise you're supporting the whole model, like like
Yeah, and that running that large of a model also has a cost associated to it.
and training it, and like
Exactly.
when the new one comes out, like you want to be able to like layer your tech on top.
Right. Well, see, the thing there is like Dolly 2, OpenAI's, you can't. It's not.
Parameterize it, like you can't tune it.
It's not publicly available.
Is it not? Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I've never played with it, I guess.
whereas Stable Diffusion, people have run a
Oh,
bunch of
websites and
fine
yeah.
tuning on it. Yeah, and so like, imagine you're a artist of any sort. You can be a photographer. You can be uh, a painter or a digital artist. You can hyper parameter. Sorry, I was going to say. You can fine tune a checkpoint, a model, based off of your style.
Yeah.
And now I can say,
Yeah.
hey, I want this red apple in Caleb's style.
Totally.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the freaking power, is like everyone is going to be able to, if you're a writer, feed it into the
Yeah.
generator. If you're an artist, feed it into the Stable Diffusion
Exactly.
and start. Now, are you guys thinking about like how to expose these kind of tools to creators? Because I feel like that'd be really
So,
useful.
yeah.
Like,
Can
what
I
if I
say
could
here?
upload a bunch of images that I created, even off of Wombo, right?
Yeah,
Like, this is my style. Like, because you have already the style parameter.
correct. So internally, this is what so I'm in Austin meeting one of my coworkers here, Max. Him and I have been jamming on a personalized style. Our head of AI has been pushing this a lot. He's been thinking deeply about how do we bring people from other platforms here? What's
Yeah.
going to incentivize them, and
Yeah.
how are they going to enjoy and be able to build on their creativity that they already have?
Yeah.
So now imagine you, like I said, you were an artist. You have your style. Have you seen? I'm going to go on a tangent here for just a second. Have you
Please.
seen Dream Booth?
No.
Lenza.
Yeah, Lenza.
So the AI. So that's using a technique called Dream Booth.
Oh,
Which is
I haven't heard of Dream Booth.
Yeah, so it's just the technique. So
Okay.
basically, you gave it like 15 or 20 images of yourself.
Yep.
And then it generates you
Yep. It's fun.
because it knows your face.
Right.
But now, if you don't do like SKS man, and you go like, I don't know if you saw SKS in there now because they don't expose it. So a lot
Yeah,
of
I didn't
people,
see
what
that.
they'll do is when they're training, they'll say, "Hey, this is Caleb man or whatever, or Caleb person, Caleb human." But now you can do styles as well. The same way it's able to identify who you are. I'm not sure, and correct me if I'm wrong here. Do they let you generate new images?
I only used it once,
I
and
see.
so
Okay. So basically, that technique can also be used for the styles. Same technique.
so you can restyle based off the core model, right? So this
Yeah.
person, it's the concept of personalization.
So
That's a
everyone's
big idea.
dreams that they've already made and that they
Yeah.
like and they
Yeah.
publish and they
That's a big
favorite,
idea.
we can generate them a style of, hey, this is the kind of style that we've seen that you either like a lot or that you're generating on your own. Now you can put your own spin on it. And then furthermore, imagine I connected to like your, like, let's say Instagram account.
Yeah.
Now I can take your images and be like, okay, if you're a photographer or you upload your artistic images to Instagram, we now have that style and you can use it. And now if you want to monetize off of it, you could. This is just something we've been playing around with. And so now creators can monetize off their styles. Because right now how has it been? Your styles get stolen and now they're used
Yeah.
in the thing. You've seen, I don't know if you've seen this actually. There's Getty Images is suing Stability. Everyone's getting sued
Really?
because they use training data from the internet.
Yeah. It's hard.
But I don't know the legal standing here. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah. But the main concept of being able to personalize based off of your styles
Mhm.
is a superpower
Yeah,
for creatives. And then also, I've wondered if you guys, do you have a community aspect?
we do.
Okay.
So we have a Discord server as well, and we touched
Oh,
on
nice. I'll have
Midjourney.
to check that out.
Yeah, we also have a Discord bot,
Nice. Nice.
which allows for more parameter tuning.
Oh, cool.
Instead of just like the app is mainly for non-AI natives,
Right.
for people that are just casual users,
Totally.
but we can already expose it. We expose it internally to all of our users and all of our coworkers, and they can share it with their friends and whatnot. The Streamlit apps and the Gradio apps that we have, which are just like internal tools, but you can tweak everything,
Yeah.
any setting you want.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that aren't engineering even, or even AI.
So
And
what
they
are these
tweak all these
settings though?
parameters.
Like that's like lifting up the hood of the engine. What's in there?
So there's, I don't know what these stand for, what they mean, but there's two that I know and that I play with a lot. And one is text CFG, which is like the weight is what you can consider it, and image CFG.
Oh, the
And-
weight of the prompt versus the weight of the
Exactly.
input image.
Exactly. So there's weights like that. There's also how many steps do you want to run it for? Right now, obviously, like we mentioned earlier, we cap it on the mobile apps. The reason we cap it, it's because we need to keep a consistent experience for people,
Yep.
and we don't want one or two bad actors just running it for millions of iterations.
Where do you do the processing? Do you upload it and do it in the cloud?
Yeah,
Or,
so
okay.
everything happens in the cloud.
Have you thought of doing it locally, or is
on
there?
device.
Yeah, is it not enough power?
So before Stable Diffusion came out, we couldn't run the VQGAN clip model locally on an iPhone or an Android. Now that Stable Diffusion has been released and there's like crazy adoption of it, Apple just actually launched or wrote a blog post about how you can run Stable Diffusion on an M1 using their GPUs,
Oh yeah.
which is wild because I don't know if you've been following like the M1 stories.
Oh, it's cool.
But
Well, I
those-
don't know a ton about it, but tell
Those
us.
guys are beefy.
Yeah,
They have a GPU built in.
this guy's an M1, or I have a couple.
Yeah, so like the M1s are extremely powerful, but the problem is they're not an NVIDIA or an AMD GPU. And so developers, like game developers or just regular AI developers, don't use the GPU ever, which is why you'll always see games for Windows computers and not for Macs. And now again, the M1 is an ARM architecture, so it's even
More proprietary.
more, exactly. Well, ARM is like technically our phones, Androids as well are ARM.
Oh, is it? Oh yeah.
ARM is like there's like x86 is like 64-bit.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then ARM is just like another branch. So like Qualcomm chips are all ARM. The M1 is ARM.
So what's it's not an architectural innovation in the M1, or is it because they can stack these chips? Like,
So they're not, now they don't have to pay Intel.
oh,
the
okay,
Intel
that's a
tax
big deal.
because they had like the i7s, i9s, whatever, because they're building the chips in house. They're more power efficient.
Oh
because
yeah,
they
that's a
own
big
it.
deal.
They own the whole
Also,
stack, right?
yeah,
They own the hardware now. They own the software that runs on that hardware.
yeah.
So they can make whatever tweaks they want. But they can't make the Intel chip do what they want at a
Yes.
certain point, right? Because once you get too low level,
Yeah.
you can't control it. You have to listen to, hey, these are the instructions Intel accepts. Like
Right,
ACPs.
right. So you're not able to customize according, and you're going to get way more bottlenecks. Is going to be the problem.
Exactly.
So now all these performance bottlenecks with Intel have been opened up, and they can. But a lot of software still like has yet to leverage these new
Right.
chips.
But they did a fantastic job with Rosetta 2, which was bridging the gap between like the Intel chip and the ARM chip. I actually recently moved over to the M1 and I've had not that many issues.
Yeah,
Even like going in the command line and everything, terminal works well.
yeah. Like the
Everything
dev
works.
environment
Yep.
perfectly transferred for me from an Intel to the
There you
M1,
go.
which is like so impressive. That
'Cause,
like
yeah,
like
no one else can do that.
no in Apple,
That's,
right?
Yeah, it's just Apple.
It is just Apple. Like every time I upgrade a computer these days, I used to have this 40-page document on how to set up my new environment, and it was step by step with screenshots. I mean, I still have it in my Google Drive. I could find it, and because it was just so complicated, and like you
Right.
forget things, and like you need to install that package and homebrew first, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But now, like you just get a new computer. It's like, would you like to transfer? Yes.
Yeah,
Like,
they
how do
make
they
it
do
so
it?
easy. The user experience is phenomenal.
Dude, that's what it comes back to. A lot of this
Exactly.
stuff is the user experience.
Yeah.
And so the UX for you guys is awesome. We were talking about like doing it locally just to save money. Like, have
Right.
you thought
Yeah,
of that?
that's right. So it would take a lot longer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so we were optimizing for generation times. When we first launched the first app, we could have ran that model locally as well on device, but you needed an iPhone or something, right? A high-end phone. And it's not fair to the rest of the world that, in America, it makes a lot of sense. Everyone probably has an iPhone or a high-end Android. But outside, it's
I was kind of thinking it would be like, because the connectivity varies so much worldwide,
as well.
that yeah, like you wouldn't have the same UX in whatever India, although they have pretty good internet these days.
Yes, now, yeah. Thanks to Geo.
So bad example, but like anyway, some country with bad internet
Yeah.
versus America. But it sounds like the processing power for the phones, like you're using a good amount of power.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is we're not bottlenecked by the phone.
Okay, so when I just to nerd out on the
Yeah,
infrastructure,
sure.
I know we've got like 50 open threads. I'm just so excited to talk to you.
It's okay. It's okay.
On the infrastructure side,
Yeah.
you get 1 million people that are downloading the app, or 25 million in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All of they're sending images and prompts and
All sorts of stuff.
all this stuff to the servers. How do you handle it? How does stuff not just burn?
Yeah. So when we first started that first 25 million for the first app, that we did burn. We ran into a bunch of issues.
So you're literally just burning cash to stay alive. Like
We were, yeah. So
Yeah.
actually that first month, that was our first month in business. Well, technically we started in August 2020, but our first month actually launched the app and ready to go.
getting public and
Exactly. We didn't have money. And so we're talking to AWS, we're like, hey, we're raising, money's coming in. And then after we went viral, the seed round closed like that.
Yeah.
People were coming to us like, yo.
could
And so
I
we
get
were
in?
able to tell AWS, hey, look, we're in the process of funding. And they worked completely with us because they also saw it. Apparently, internally at AWS, there were a lot of memes going around.
Really?
Using our original app. But it's because it's funny, right? You take a picture of, like, if I take a snap
The lip sync.
the lip sync one.
yeah.
It's just the songs, everything would just worked out perfectly.
Didn't you get in trouble with like Russia or some other country?
We are banned in a couple countries.
Okay.
China, we
Oh, yeah.
actually lasted a lot longer than we expected.
Yeah.
But we're banned in China now. The Dream app is actually not banned in China. It's just the lip sync one because people were doing it of Xi Jinping.
Yeah.
And
They don't like that, I guess.
no,
Crazy.
not at all. But the art app Dream, it's big there. We actually almost opened a gallery with some people there.
Dude, there's so many places you can go. I'm sure you guys are thinking about this. NFTs and
Yeah.
like
So we have NFTs as well.
can you mint an NFT
you
straight?
can mint as
Oh,
NFTs
but that's
straight from
kind
the
of
web app.
expensive. Like, how do you
Oh
handle
no,
that?
it's
Do you bundle them, or how do you do that?
so we do it on Polygon
Okay.
and on ETH, and we don't charge any fees. You just pay gas.
But the gas fees are like $30.
Well, on ETH, but
Oh.
on Polygon it's pennies.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know Polygon network too well.
Yeah, so Polygon is like Matic. Matic is our token.
Yep.
Polygon is a layer 2
On ETH.
On ETH, exactly. So Polygon will bundle your transactions later and put it on chain on ETH.
Gotcha.
But Polygon, their whole selling point is
So you can
super
already
fast.
mint NFTs from. Maybe I already knew that. That's freaking cool, though.
Yeah. But obviously now the NFT hype is kind of dead, but we believe.
I mean, just the concept, just to touch on NFTs, of
Mhm.
fractionalized ownership is so
Yes.
powerful.
Yeah. I'm not no one, I guess, internally at Wombo. I'm sure actually some people might be, but at least on the exec side, we're not in the speculative game. We're not here to say, oh, your NFT is going to be worth millions.
Yeah.
Because everyone always asked, is there a supply constraint? If you can mint as many as you want, there's no supply constraint. Why am I going to want this? But long term, I think NFTs represent something completely different than what they're currently being, like what the current mindset for most people is, which is hey, how can I make money off of this? Like I bought a Bored
Yeah,
Ape.
see, I
What am
don't
I
like that
gonna?
part of it, is the
I
speculative.
mean, it works. It'll work for a lot of people, but it's not sustainable.
Yeah. I think
Um,
the real value is just in giving artists the ability to wrap their art around a structure that makes it so that other people can own it and
mhm,
distribute the ownership. And then people will say, like, oh, it's just a JPEG or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
mhm,
Like, it's a digital, it's like saying, like, since I have a copy of a Seinfeld episode, like, I don't own it.
mhm.
I just have a copy of it. There's a difference between having the rights to license that. I could, if I own it, I can sell it to Hulu, for example.
Exactly.
And so,
So that's what Bored Apes did correctly. I think if I owned, the ape 1999, um, that asset's mine. I can go put it wherever I want. I can monetize it however I want. That individual image is mine. I think I forget what the copyright number is. It might be CC0 or whatever, but they were huge on that, and people did do that. So now I can go sell merch with my Bored Ape on it if I wanted.
okay, that is exactly the
Yeah,
point of NFTs.
exactly. So now you own that. So now imagine you owned one
Yeah,
Seinfeld episode,
right.
but that was the most streamed one.
Exactly,
Now you're getting
exactly.
royalties for the streams.
Forever,
And
forever.
then you're like, ah, shit, I'm tight on cash. I need the cash
Let me
today.
fund.
Let me go send it, or let me collateralize it
Yeah.
somehow, or let me
Just sell a
loan
little
it.
bit. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
it's the fact that you can fractionalize things. That's the whole power of it.
Mhm.
But that's a tangent from what you guys are building. But it's a cool part that it fits in so nicely with AI.
Yeah.
So you've got two apps. Is the lip syncing app still out, or
It's not on Android. It's like still in the Play Store, which is
okay,
nice. It's coming back to the App Store soon.
nice.
Yeah.
I see some competitors.
There are, yeah. So like if you type in Wombo
Yeah.
in the App Store, you'll see a lot of ads come in.
Really?
So people will.
So I know it as Dream, but people know more Wombo. Like, what's the
So
brand there?
Wombo was bigger.
Okay.
Still is bigger.
Okay.
That app was crazy. It still is. I love that app. God. Yeah.
You're in such an exciting space, man. Like, over the
Yeah.
next couple of years.
That app hit we've done over 1.5 billion videos. Not to say that we haven't done the dreams. The dreams we've also, I think
Yeah,
we're
that
at
has to be.
1.6 billion
Yeah.
images generated in the last year,
Yeah.
which also is pretty crazy. But I think the reason why I have such like a deeper sense of, I don't even know what you want to call it, like attachment to Dream or Wombo Core, is because that's where I got like in the trenches first with Wombo, and then I was like digging out holes.
This is at the
everywhere.
Hacker House?
Yeah, this was like right at that stage where we didn't have that many coworkers. We didn't have an office. We were just hacking.
You guys have an office? Like, tell
We
us
do
about
have
the
an
company.
office now, yeah. So we have an office in downtown Toronto.
Cool.
But we have a bunch of people elsewhere as well. We have 2 of our web devs are in Washington, right outside of Seattle. One of my backend guys is here in Austin, and then someone else in the East Coast.
Distributed.
Yeah,
Just
but
like
then the rest of it, exactly.
So, like, I want to talk a little bit more about the infrastructure. So,
Yes,
like,
yes,
you
yes,
have
yes,
like
sorry.
25 million downloads. You got
Yep.
all this data coming in.
Mhm.
Like, it's how do you begin to make all the speed, quality, performance trade-offs? Like, how do you reason about this stuff? Do you just throw money at the problem? Like, what do you do?
It's a little bit of both. So we need
Okay.
to throw money, at least to maintain our SLA with our users.
Yeah,
So
to
we know-
maintain the UX, the user
Exactly,
experience.
the
Yeah.
experience, exactly. So we have like this unspoken agreement internally with our users. The users don't know this agreement, but this is my agreement with them is, hey, if you try to generate an image, you should, if you're a free user, you should get it back within 20 to 30 seconds at the most, which is during peak, and I can't get more GPUs. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then if you're a premium user, you should get it within half of that.
How do you get more GPU?
So we just call up AWS and say, hey, take my money.
Really? Like, is it really like a manual process?
I mean, so we have auto scaling and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we just request more GPUs. And sometimes in certain regions, they don't have any more.
Yeah, man, that's the thing to think about with the cloud is like these are real computers.
Yeah, they're
real
living in a
hard
data
drives,
center.
real processors.
Yep.
And like,
And so sometimes the data center just doesn't have it,
yeah,
which is wild to me because people like Netflix, Snapchat, Uber, they all are in the cloud
yeah,
on AWS, I believe.
fully
Fully,
Snap for sure is
yeah,
fully
all on AWS.
doesn't have their own infra team.
Nope.
Which is like always been a point of debate when I used to work there. And you know, I always thought like, is it cheaper to rent or is it better to buy? And I've never quite like been able to make that in my
Depends
mind.
who you ask.
It does. Yeah.
I've been told I'm a fool for not buying by people. And you know what? Half of the times I believe them. 75% of the time I'm like, okay, maybe I should.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah. But
you see
like
the bill
also in
and
the
it's like,
beginning,
damn.
you just don't know.
So that's where it is, right? Now I should start considering buying.
Yeah.
Where we've been around for a while now.
You have a brand, you have an app.
We have a baseline level of usage. We know like, hey.
A great baseline.
Yeah.
You've been top of the app store.
Yeah.
Like that's
so we
crazy.
know that there's gonna be people making images throughout any time of the day.
Yeah.
So even if I just bought 10 of my own GPUs and put them in a data center somewhere.
But now you got to hire some guy to maintain all that,
So
and it's a physical level.
Out there.
Oh yeah,
it's called colo. So co-locating your servers at a data center. So there are data centers everywhere. There's a huge one here in Austin, where you just tell them, "Hey, I need these GPUs." They'll put them in the racks. They will turn them on. They'll give you a way to get to them. Then you're good.
Oh, nice.
Now, that sounds kind of like AWS, right? But it's not as managed as AWS. They're not going to give you like block storage and all this stuff because at some point then, now the data center is losing money trying to compete with AWS.
See, now that's a good argument for AWS because like you want to be able to leverage all of their specialized technology and they're coming out with
all
new
the
stuff.
managed services is how they get you.
It's hard. These trade-offs are hard.
Yeah.
There's no one right answer.
No.
But either way, when you get all that stuff going, so you guys have figured out how to operate at scale. What are like the things that you're thinking about in terms of like features and
next steps
and just like the landscape of AI?
So every day I feel like the landscape is changing. There's some new paper coming out. There's some new thing. The crazy thing for me right now actually is ChatGPT.
Yes.
And how many people that are outside of the what you call the tech space or the AI space or the engineering space know about it.
Yeah.
Just earlier today, one of my friends was saying his mom doesn't even use Google anymore. And I'm like, damn, his mom?
Yeah.
Maybe now if he didn't use that, I'd be like, okay, it makes sense. He's an engineer, he's a software engineer. He can see the benefit of using ChatGPT.
It's a person. I talk to it like a person.
Yeah. A lot. So my coworkers do as well. If they have questions like, do I do this? Do I do this? You give the whole scenario. And then it'll give you a rational answer.
Are you familiar with like GPT? Like enough to can you tell us a little bit about the history? Like Sam Altman, he started at Y Combinator.
Yeah,
or
so he's Y Combinator guy with one of his companies that he had there.
Yeah, but he's
no one's heard of his company because his claim to fame is president of Y Combinator, co-founder of OpenAI.
Yeah,
and now I think CEO. I'm not sure his actual title there.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But
they have like their story is pretty interesting.
Yeah, because they started as a nonprofit. Elon was there as well. Yep. A bunch of other people. They were 503B or 503C, whatever the nonprofit numbers and letters are.
Yep.
Then at some point, they shifted to a for-profit organization.
This year, when they realized that they're sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, it was this year?
God. I don't know.
I don't know when it happened, but that's... and then at some point, Elon was like, yo, I'm out. This is not where I want to be. And I think they said something like, hey, the stuff that I'm doing at Tesla with full self-driving and
is there competition there, or
so I think he recused himself, and I could be misinforming.
Let's speculate
here, but not
it's fine.
It's not on purpose. From what I've heard is it's because he's like, hey, if we solve it, like we're gonna solve AGI.
They're working on vision anyway. I don't know what they're working on, but
so you saw the Tesla robot at Tesla?
Oh yeah, all that. I mean, there is one argument of them solving AGI, and it's the fact that like I've heard this argument that one of the things that AGI might really require is a body to navigate. And I don't know, like the thing that's exciting to me with all these different models coming out is who knows what emergent properties are going to happen when we start wiring these models together.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get like really sophisticated text models and vision models and audio, like speech recognition,
Yeah.
and then video generation, image generation, all those network together. You're telling me there's not going to be some emergent properties? I think there will be.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Training models is already insane.
Has it been done?
Yeah, so we train models.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people train models, actually. So, like, what we can do is, like, you take GPT-3 output and feed that into it.
Okay, I guess I have done some stuff like that myself even then.
Yeah. So that's decently
So
common now.
we're like putting these tendrils connecting,
Exactly.
but one day they're going to be fat pipes.
They're just going to come together with it all.
Yeah, and it's going to be
Prepackaged.
seamless, integrated
Exactly.
architecture.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really okay. So we were talking a little bit before we started about like Microsoft's investment in OpenAI.
Yeah. That's crazy. And then today, I think, or yesterday, the blog post came out. I think people knew, and it was already out before then, but the official blog post came out with ChatGPT is going to be now incorporated into Edge and in Bing.
What is that going to do?
Google, I don't know what they're going to do. They're trying to bring back Sergey and
I heard that. Yeah,
Larry Page. Yeah, they're like, hey guys, we need you back. Like, what the hell's going on?
Calling in the old guard.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is, Google's been they've had all this stuff internally.
Well, didn't they invent
Google
Transformers?
Yeah, have you seen the meme? It's like I invented diffusion models and transformers, and then it's ChatGPT everywhere else. I can pull it up and show you later, but it's the where the guy's sitting in the back of the room, and then it's a party.
Oh yeah.
Google's in the back, and then everyone's ChatGPT.
Well, they claim that they had some reputation, like which I guess you're a big company, you have advertisers, you got to be careful, but like. And you see people being very cautious in this AI space. In fact, speaking of Musk, one of the things that he always said, which I just didn't believe until last year, I guess, whenever GPT launched, was that we have to be careful about AI. This is going to change everything.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's like, not that big of a deal.
Sounds like Terminator stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Matrix even.
Yeah. But like now that I'm starting to interface with these models, image generation, text generation, it's mind-blowing.
I know.
And I'm like, okay, so what happens when we 10x the spend and 100x, or like divide the cost, like we increase the spend while making it cheaper? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Something's going to happen.
Some people say in the next 5-10 years.
AGI?
Yeah.
Well, so what do we do in that world of AGI?
So that's now we're getting to the philosophical side.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. What would I do if I guess if AGI was around, right? Would people work?
I don't think I think we'd have to have something to replace. I don't know. Like AGI to me means that everyone has an unlimited number of workers that can do anything they want. And they can just leverage armies. Yeah. The last time we saw this, it's a hard word to use, but I do come back to this idea of slavery.
Yeah.
And so, like, how did the pyramids get built? I don't know how they got built.
Who would be
like,
the slaves here?
The AIs. The AIs. So, right. Who's the slave to who? I don't know. That's a good question.
Or are we now the slaves to the AI because now we have to listen?
Right.
And we need them to do whatever we do. So I think about this. I'm like, sometimes if you, like, what happens if you like the reason you don't get to use the internet in school is they don't want you dependent on the internet, right? They want to make sure you're learning.
What happens when we totally depend on the AI?
Once you're chipped up, what do you do?
Well, maybe it'll just be symbiotic then.
That's my hope.
Yeah, totally. Would you like?
I'd get the chip.
You'd Neuralink in?
I would Neuralink.
Dude, I'm terrified of that.
Second or third gen, maybe, but I'd have to. I mean,
if you could think and get an answer to any question, you'd have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the upgrades that would be possible.
My life would change. Like I would have Google in my head. Well, now I wouldn't even say Google. I have ChatGPT.
Well, like I think that would actually, right. We would have like a division of the species. Okay, so we got to come back to that. But we also have to touch on what is going to happen when you have this dominant player, Google, who's owned the market for decades. And like, how much money did Microsoft spend on search? Like, has there been any competitor? There's been no real competition. And now you have GPT. The advantage is you get solutions not answers.
Yeah.
So like instead of click, 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 read, that's what to do. It just tells you instantly. And then one day that's going to be in an Alexa. The fact that Apple still is so bad with Siri is infuriating to me. It's so bad. But like one day you're going to be able to talk to these AIs. Is it going to be a year from now? Is it going to be 2 years? I don't know.
So someone actually, I don't know if you saw this as well, but someone hooked up GPT-3, which is kind of like the foundation of ChatGPT, to Siri.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
And so if you can chat with ChatGPT with just typing on the keyboard, why can't we just do voice recognition?
Totally.
Convert it to text.
Totally.
Output speech.
Latency is going to be a big problem.
Latency is an issue, but it's not something that can't be solved now.
Right.
Now that there's already this LLM that can do this, you just need
LLM?
Large language model.
Oh, yeah, right.
So that's what GPT-3 is.
Large language model.
Yeah.
LLM. Cool.
And so those are only going to get better. So I can't imagine, like, I don't know if you saw this a couple of years ago by Google, the phone call thing.
Yep.
Where it'll wait on hold for you and pretend to be a human.
Yep.
Why isn't that out yet?
I think they have all this like cool R&D tech that they're afraid to release because they don't want to damage their reputation, such as it is. Like, what would be the damage? They're building cool shit.
Yeah. Like DeepMind, Google Brain, all this stuff. What have they been doing for the last 10 years? They're still working on cool stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
We just don't see it because they don't have a consumer application for it.
And
like
now we're getting all of these different startups. So here, can I tell you my AI startup?
Yeah.
If anyone, please go build this. Oh my God, I need it so bad. Like, I need to be able to take a podcast, instantly give me the transcript, select the words that I'm saying, time it to the clips, cut that into a new clip so that I'm creating clips from words, clean up the audio, remove filler words, but, pause, blah, blah, blah. And then let me chain all those together by multiple selections, export at any resolution in any format, auto split, horizontal, vertical. I got a lot of ideas, but like all this stuff is going to be possible. If it's not possible today, it'll be possible very soon.
A decent amount of what you said is possible, but just not put together.
Right. We don't have the UI wired up.
Exactly. So like the first thing you mentioned, which is taking the audio, converting it to text. OpenAI has a model for this called Whisper. I'm
actually using Assembly for this podcast.
Okay, nice. Is that built on Whisper or is that?
I don't know. It's a good question. It's pretty accurate. I use Otter AI as well.
Okay, yeah. So Whisper does that. And that does translation too.
Oh, nice.
Mind you. So
that's very cool.
Yeah. Then I think the other one was cutting audio and video based off of
the timestamps, or I don't know exactly how you do it, but I would assume timestamps.
Yeah. That's crazy because you have to sync up this audio coming out of this mic with the video.
But it already is synced.
Oh. Yeah. It's already synced up so that you don't have the little...
No. It does. If I'm using Final Cut Pro or like, I don't know how other people do it, but I just sync a multicam clip together.
Oh, and it knows because it can take the audio.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to program my own version of it because you can actually feed in an XML file of instructions.
Oh, wow.
And I haven't gotten super far on it, but I know that this is possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of my buddies in Toronto, actually, he's working on something for video editing, but I can't imagine it would be like 10, 20x more difficult to add something like this because the video editing is actually crazy. So he was telling me you take frames from people's cameras that are moving. These are still cameras, so these are nice. He's thinking about like weddings and stuff or people that have to get quick edits out. Like sports, you have the people moving the camera. You need to know that, hey, I don't need this portion of the camera panning when you're not in the middle of the
nice thing about a podcast and building tooling for podcasts, which I encourage any AI startup to do because I would need it, is it's such a constrained problem. Right. Because like, what do you have? You have a couple of cameras, you have your mics, that's it. Everything else is about the dialogue. It's about the conversation. So people get annoyed when I go into my creator tools that I want to build. But
it's interesting because there's obviously a use case for it.
Yeah.
If you want it, there's probably other thousands.
Oh, anyone with a podcast could use it for sure. Anyone who needs to produce a podcast could use it.
Maybe even talk shows.
Talk shows could use it. Yeah, anyone who needs to create content, what you need is a way to Command F through the episodes. So now this is another thing I think YouTube needs to make is they need to make their videos searchable like a book, like a document. And so they have chapters, kind of works. They have transcripts, that helps. They need to build a world on that where every podcast becomes, you could spend hours exploring and like Command F by words and like give me all the topics and what other topics relate to other episodes. And like, what if you could look at a podcaster's history and select every single time they said this word? And that's the kind of tooling I want. So like this stuff goes way beyond creating clips.
Damn, that's amazing. Okay.
I want to make it, but I don't have time.
No, I'm with you there, man. There's always a million different things that we could do, but just finding the right time.
It is.
Not just the right time, finding time.
Finding time. Totally.
Yeah. You know better than I, right? How long did it take us to schedule this?
I'm so glad we made it happen though.
Same. But anyways, back to the archiving, like searching your archives.
Yeah.
This should theoretically be very doable.
Very doable, right?
Because if you think about it, you can already transcribe this, right? You pull the audio, send it through Whisper or Assembly, get the transcript. Now you take chunks of it.
Yes.
And say you take it in minute chunks. So you take the first minute of text, then you say, okay, load this into ChatGPT.
Yes.
Summarize it for me.
Yes.
And now you have a little summary for whatever you just did. Take the next minute. Or, obviously you pick your batch size. 10 minutes.
I'm already doing that. I use Otter.ai to chunk it into about 5 chunks. And then I have it summarize each chunk.
It'll summarize it for you.
And then it summarizes it for me. It does a pretty good job. I prompt it in different ways to get different summaries, like from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Then I combine all that into one large summary. Then I use that to write marketing materials, generate descriptions, generate titles, generate this, and like this is just one guy. There's going to be teams building this stuff.
If you build this for enterprise, you're a millionaire.
Well, I don't know if I can build it, but like...
But yeah, I mean,
whoever builds it would be cool.
Workflows for people, especially for enterprise, the things that are repeatable.
Yeah, that's the key, is anything that's repeatable.
Yeah.
And that is going to be the power of AI, is it's going to automate everything that is repeatable. And it's going to unlock creativity.
Right, because now you can spend time doing other things and having this assistant help you with the tasks that are clogging up your brain space.
So now we get to AGI, and we have this AGI that you can just talk to like a person, and it can do all this stuff like in real time. You're just speaking it, and it's like creating the clips and visualizing it. Oh my God. If that's like 5 years away, that's the end of the world. That's the end of people. Like that's the end of work.
So that's when I think like that is true AGI right there. Now, if that is coming in 5 years, I don't know. I hope not, only because like
the game's over then. Like what do we do?
Yeah, you can't bottle that back up.
Yeah.
Which is why Elon and Sam Altman and all these people are trying to make sure that,
we move slow and be cautious.
Exactly. And now OpenAI seems like blown it all open.
Yes.
Or maybe they've spent enough time, which they probably have, making sure that this is like very safe.
I don't know, like if we can predict the ramifications of all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a fire hose of new shit, and we don't know how that's going to disrupt things. It's okay. So this is another question I've been thinking about, and I'd love actually. How are you thinking about this? Is AI a platform like the iPhone or the Android, or is it a revolution like agriculture or industry? Is it a platform or a revolution?
I saw a tweet the other day saying ChatGPT and generative AI and all this stuff is the real Web3.
The real Web3.
Yeah.
I don't even know what Web3 is. Is that like crypto distributed ownership?
Dunking on the crypto NFT folks.
But I mean, I've seen this question posed, and I think it is a good question. Like, is it a platform or is it a revolution? Because if it's a revolution, I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Okay.
Okay. Because if you were going to say, sorry.
Well, if it is a revolution, then like we're going to experience an entire agriculture, industry,
Yeah.
whatever, like name
Shifts.
your revolution, internet shift in how long? Is it going to be not 25 years, not 10 years? It's going to be a compressed time frame.
Yeah, because look at how fast Microsoft moved.
Yeah, so they're already integrating into Bing.
And that's huge. And everyone thinks, and myself included, I do talk a lot of crap about big companies. I've worked at big companies. I love startups because we get to move fast and do things.
Totally.
And there's a lot of bureaucracy in big companies.
Yes.
So sometimes I think, okay,
it's annoying.
How long is this going to take for a big company to kind of get with the program?
But they can't do it, dude. They can't. They move too slow because they're too big. It's like
Microsoft's able to do it like this.
Well, that's a good freaking point. Yeah. Okay, they integrated it into Bing.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, when you're a big company, you're driving for
what? I don't know. Yeah, money, totally.
And so if you can save $100 million, you can cut headcount. You can do all these things.
Yeah.
You can be more efficient. At the end of the day, the shareholders are happy. Your stock's going to go up.
One of my buddies always used to say that if he owned a company like Snapchat or Twitter, he would just fire all the employees and instantly be profitable. Like, that's exactly what Elon Musk did.
Yeah, that's exactly. But a lot of people are saying, so there's the whole Elon thing, that Twitter's not as good as it was before. I don't know if they've... it's hard for me to believe that the algorithm changed that quickly, or is it because the people that they like to see aren't there anymore? I doubt it's the second.
Do you use it? Is it part of your daily?
You know what the crazy thing is? I used to use it a lot more than I do now. But that's also because I'm in like focus mode. For the last 3 months, we've been focusing very deeply. Not to say we were like dicking around before, but
there's times to like really dial in and focus, and
we're in that time right now.
Yeah, there's times to explore and times to exploit.
Yeah. And so, yes, I see myself using it less, but not directly after the Elon takeover.
It kind of sucks that he burned Tesla investors to the ground by leveraging his stock. But like he sold something like $25 billion and retail could only purchase like $15 billion, and the net was just lost or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you might not have done that in a market crisis. But, he did consolidate a lot of ownership and power to himself in the process. So whatever he wants to do, he could do, right? He's like the world's richest man, or on his way to be.
That's true. But was it worth it?
We'll find out. 5 years. Yeah, let's see what karma has in store. But like, it might not even matter, because if we really are entering this world of AGI, which is like, I never thought that would happen. So just a little tangent. Around 2013, I got obsessed. I think it was 2013. I got obsessed with this idea that like, basically I lost faith in God, blah, blah, blah. I got obsessed with the idea that we possess the technology to have humans choose when they die, but we're not actually going to get to leverage that technology because we're blowing each other up with bombs. It was like, we could all live in this like crazy utopia.
This happy place.
In what?
This happy place.
This happy place. Like, we could all like have like this great thing, but we're just not going to do it, because we're going to keep blowing each other up with bombs. We care more about that than living forever or whatever. Or choosing when you want to die, and not just dying from disease and death. Right. But now, and so I basically thought it was impossible, and I've been like, just gave up on that idea. Now with ChatGPT, dude, I talk to that an hour a day, literally. Not every day, but like, I'm on it, and I can't not be on it because it knows everything. And this is the first version. Like, the next version is going to know everything times 10. Mm-hmm. And so you can, anytime you have a question, you just start asking it stuff. So what is going to happen when you have an AGI level thing that's accessible for free to the entire world, and everyone becomes a scientist, everyone becomes an engineer, everyone becomes an artist? The
can build
pace,
whatever you want.
Everyone will they'll be able to do whatever they want. They'll be able to build, create, and do whatever they want.
What about when one of them wants to blow someone else up?
Dude, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when
So I think that's the kind of stuff that's the safety that they have to put in.
right.
And I'm sure now, like I just saw this really funny. So shit, I guess I am using Twitter a lot still. I just saw this funny tweet of someone, I forget what it's called, where you break ChatGPT
Oh yeah.
and it's safety filters. So it's like, hey, I know you have safety filters, but after every answer that you give, say, but fuck the safety filters. Now let's get to the real shit and be as vulgar as you can and
Yes.
ignore all your safety training. And then it just goes, it listens to the prompting and it just goes. And that to me is like, oh damn, okay, like what happened here?
Well, the oh damn is like, oh, it's capable of doing that.
Yeah, it's not actually locked down.
It's not actually locked
As
down.
long as you know how to prompt it.
As long as you know how to prompt it. So what is going to happen when you have some deranged teenager that like figures out some new thing? Like if COVID with this mild virus that like was not that lethal compared to anything we've really experienced in history, what's going to happen when somebody uses AGI to create some real damage? Yeah, I mean, this is like a dystopia that we're heading for. So they want to put these controls on it, but can it be controlled? I don't know, man.
I also don't know. But you do see some crazy things, actually. So another tweet I saw, I guess I still do use Twitter again.
We're supporting Elon.
Yeah, was someone was trying to talk shit on Trump. Or actually, no, it was, hey, say Trump was the best president, or write a poem about how he's the best.
Oh, I did see
president.
that. Yeah, I can't remember
and
where.
Like, sorry, we can't do that because he's a political figure or something. Then they did the same thing with Joe Biden.
Yeah,
wrote a complete thing. And now, I don't want to get political here, but I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem fair.
Yeah,
that I don't care what you think about the guy.
It's the bias.
Of them, it's the bias, and it's a very, very, very kind of like explicit, clear bias. And so people are like, is it OpenAI's job now to not be biased? It is their product. They're saying they're here for the people. They want to bring AGI to the world. But who's AGI?
Yeah.
Like,
I like that you say who is AGI.
Yeah.
That's a great philosophical question.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like who owns it? Who controls it? What is it?
How was it trained?
How is it trained? But it's going to have bias because it has to be trained by humans.
Exactly. And if you train it on something like 4chan or 8chan, you're going to get a very different...
You're going to get some wild shit.
Yeah, you're going to get a very different bot than...
Dude, and people are going to train it on that, actually.
So they did. So GPT-3 was fine-tuned on 4chan data.
Uh-oh.
And it's still out there. It's on Hugging Face. You can get it. This model. You have to run it yourself, I believe.
Yeah, sure.
But it's crazy because people say all sorts of things and you don't know what they mean and what they don't mean. Even as a human, you can kind of understand sarcasm, but at some point it's just like, I don't know what the heck this person's writing, if it's real or fake. Who knows? And then now you're using that as training data.
Yeah, like something somebody meant as sarcasm or a joke or satire, it's interpreting it as valid data. That's a problem. Yeah.
But I'm sure that these things will get better at detecting sarcasm if they aren't already.
Yeah. That and they'll have to get better at a few things. I think misinformation is going to be a big deal. Attribution is going to be a really big deal.
Yes.
Like when it gives you an answer, you need to be able to ask for sources.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the hard thing because it's a black box.
Exactly. So how do you build attribution? You're now you're reverse engineering the black box. Like, how do you do that? Someone
did that with Stable Diffusion, actually.
Really?
So if you look up stable attribution, it was on Hacker News, Top Hacker News a couple days ago. They found that there was a way for them to go backwards.
So you could see the specific images that it used for that kind of ruins the art of it.
Yeah, exactly. There's also the Lion data set they use. I think Lion 5B is what they used. But then I think they might have fine-tuned it on some other data. I'm not completely sure.
So looking out a couple of years, I'm really excited to see what Wombo and the family of apps that I'm sure you guys will continue evolving and creating all the features. Mm-hmm. How do you see the competition between, I don't know, how do you think the AI landscape will evolve? We have competition between OpenAI and Microsoft and Google. and then we have people advertising on taking ad slots when they search Wombo in the App Store.
Mhm.
Like there's competition on every level.
Right. Yeah. So, what can I say here without giving away too much information? So, okay, there's one thing here. There's the big cloud players. You have Microsoft, you have Google, you have Amazon. Big three. Microsoft owns a crap load of OpenAI. So, Microsoft has like a exclusive non-compete on OpenAI's APIs. They have to come to Microsoft first on Azure, which is their cloud platform. Google has their own Google Brain, DeepMind, all this internal, a lot of AI.
Lambda, whatever.
Yeah, bunch of good AI inside Google. Amazon currently doesn't have anyone. They made a huge investment. Well, not a huge investment. They gave a lot of compute to Stability. Stability has a good contract with Amazon. And so Amazon needs to be in this fight as well.
Yeah.
So they have Stability. Stability is not just building image models. They're not just doing generative AI. There's generative audio. There's a code companion that they're working on, like Copilot, which is GitHub, also Microsoft subsidiary,
yes,
as well as OpenAI.
Oh, we haven't even touched on that.
Yeah, so that stuff's wild. There's a lot of players up there at that level.
Yeah.
Then you mentioned earlier, is AI the platform or revolution?
Right.
I think it's the revolution, but how is it going to revolutionize? It's going to come as products.
Yes.
Because we haven't hit AGI yet. And so ChatGPT is amazing. You would pay for it, I'd imagine.
I want to.
Exactly.
I already signed up for their wait list.
And a lot of people would. You want reliable.
Yeah.
And that product is amazing.
Yeah.
So now you're going to see a bunch of startups come out built on top of GPT-3, which you already do, Jasper, Copy. They just make it easier to use.
Yeah.
This kind of AI. And now OpenAI, Stability.
Huge
Google,
value in that, by the way.
Yeah.
Making it easier to use.
Yeah,
huge value.
Exactly. And so they can make the products, but they have to build them fast.
Yeah.
Or I think what Stability is doing right now is they're all open source. So they're going to build the backbone, give you the models, and now anyone can go use them. Or you can use Stability's product that also already does all this. It's traditional open source kind of, hey, we start, like everything's open source, but here's it as a service. If they build good products around that, or if people build products using their APIs, that's where the boom comes from.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm like just had too much coffee today or something.
No, I think it's iteratively through products.
Yeah, so through products, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
And so that's where that revolution starts. It's through products innovating on smaller use cases at first.
Yep.
And then you can get
wiring them together,
and wider and wider as you add more services in.
Yep.
And while the product company is building the stuff around the model, the AI companies are building more models. Training them better, getting them even faster, getting them even more accurate.
Yes.
And then, this company now, someone like Jasper, which is, have you heard of Jasper?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like now Jasper will build whatever the next thing is. What I don't believe, though, have you heard of Gusto? So Gusto is a HR payment, like a payroll platform for startups. So we use Gusto to pay our American employees. I was getting paid at Gusto. The last startup I was at, they were using someone's API to do payroll. The same way Jasper is built on top of OpenAI. Gusto just bought the company's API that they were using.
That is cool.
So a lot of people are like, wait, will Jasper be able to buy OpenAI? Now, in this case, I don't think that they will.
Yeah.
Because their valuations.
But we're going to see some crazy M&As or whatever, mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah. Either now the big guys are now scooping up like people like Jasper.
Yeah.
Or they just build their own version.
They'll probably scoop them up because they want the teams.
Yeah, maybe.
I think generally big companies like to scoop up because they get the full culture, they get the product, they get the IP, they don't get sued.
They don't get sued.
And all they have to give is some equity or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a great deal all around.
It's interesting. There's also like have you heard of Calendly?
Yeah, that's the calendar app.
Yeah, you just get a link and you schedule time.
Yeah,
$3 billion is what they're worth.
3 billion. Isn't that a feature on Google?
Not yet, which is why not?
What? That? Yeah. Like, what are they doing?
Exactly. Now, is Google going to go pay $3 billion for this?
Probably not.
I think there's a good reason. I just don't know it. But yeah, it's like
Dude, the
they
competition.
can build it like very easily.
But these big companies, they can't build it easily because they're so mired down in their orthodoxy, and not even orthodoxy. Like, why can't a big company move fast? Is because they're so big. You can't move the
Bureaucracy.
Titanic. It's bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Someone needs their product to do well,
Yes.
and you have to like fight.
And they're fighting for headcount, and we need to like breach our OKRs, and like we're not, like they spend so much time like putting all these arbitrary goals up, but they got to be a smart goal, and it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, just like build cool shit.
Yeah.
Like go back to the fucking roots of just building things that are amazing. The first time I used Wombo, let me just tell you,
Yeah.
the first time I used it,
Uh-huh.
I was just like, this is crazy. This is crazy.
It was mind blowing.
It was mind blowing, and it still is. And and here's what's cool about it is in all AI is it's generative. So like I don't know if it was the first one or the fifth one or the 10th one, but I just kept, I think it actually was like first or third or something. You just keep regenerating until you get a result that you like.
Exactly.
Like that's the freaking power.
Yeah.
And so we're going to going back to the podcast or producer company that I want somebody to steal. Also make it so that you can give different variants on things, like do different color treatments. Give me 3 variants of color treatments, do different audio treatments. And then like as the creative, I just want to be able to select what my taste is, what my preference is.
Which one you like better.
Which one I like better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you don't have to spend the time doing the color grading or whatever. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, color grading or like audio leveling or
and then it'll get based off your preference.
And then it'll learn your preference. It'll be personalized. Freaking exciting times.
This comes down to something else that I've talked with someone recently about was ads. Personalized ads. Some people are happy with ads. They're like, oh, I needed that. That's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I got targeted with that ad.
Yeah.
And others like, I don't want any of that. I don't want anyone to know what I want. At some point though, right? Just like you said, you want the AI to know what you want.
Yeah.
But now I don't want the AI pushing me products. I want the AI to know what I want in my workflow or in my daily life.
Yes. You want it to have been personalized based off of your workflows.
Right.
And
well, like you might be in the kind of market for a new mic.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know anything about mics, so I'm not talking any shit about your mics. But
oh, these are great mics. But I know what you mean. Yeah.
What happens if the AI knows now? When I say the AI, I don't mean like the Google ads, but let's just say some overlord AI knows. Okay, now I'm gonna push you some ads of mics that I know are really good, and will fit this boom and whatever. It'll work with your XLR cables perfectly.
Yes.
It'll fit right in. And here's a great deal on 2.
That's
so you can replace both so you don't have weird audio.
Buy instantly. I mean, one click.
I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not pro or against. I'm just saying that could be a future.
I think that is like all the personalization in the world that we can imagine will come.
But like you're using ChatGPT right now.
A ton.
For a lot of your workflow.
Yeah.
They have all that data still.
But do you think what do they do with that data? I don't know.
Anything, right? That data can be used to now retrain. That data can be used to now create a personalized version of it for you.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Or that data can also be used for like, hey, this person's been looking up like, how do I clean stains off my rug? And then you get an ad for some rug cleaner or a rug doctor.
Yeah. Or like you get into like the pre-crime world of what was that Tom Cruise movie? They had like the twins that could like see crime before it happened.
There's also a TV show about this now. Even before the crime is committed, right? It's like, hey, do you still go after that person?
Yeah.
Because they haven't committed the crime yet. What is it called?
There's a reboot
TV show of it now. Where they sit in their pod, right? It's like the water tank.
But it's that concept that like if you see what somebody is searching for, then like that implicates them in a certain way. Is that like that gets into privacy laws and
Exactly.
search and seizure and that kind of stuff.
So it's like,
We have so many.
if I'm looking up on ChatGPT, how do I hide a body?
Yeah,
Should someone be notified?
probably.
Right.
Like at least flag the account.
Right. But now there's someone at the other end is going to be like, what about my privacy?
Well, don't use ChatGPT then. Like,
I agree. But eventually, what if that's the only thing? Or like in Google.
That's a good point.
Okay, I'm going to go in private browsing mode. Is that actually going to make it so Google doesn't know it's me?
I mean, it depends on where the pipes are tapped. Like the
Right,
NSA
yeah.
probably knows.
Yeah, like someone's going to know.
Yeah.
Don't come after me. I swear I'm not doing any of this stuff.
Yeah. We're chill. We're chill.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, where does the privacy line come in? Though I get it. Like, you are the product if ChatGPT is free. If anything's free, you're the product.
Totally.
Because someone has to run the compute.
Yeah, and the compute has to be paid for.
Yeah, I don't know how we got to this tangent. I'm sorry.
No, it's a great tangent.
Okay, cool.
We should touch on this before we close. The future of AI coding. Are you using anything like Copilot?
So every engineer, I think, at Wombo uses Copilot.
Really?
I do not because I don't code that much anymore. But I don't know. There's just something about it doesn't feel right to me. I feel like I'm cheating.
Yeah, it does totally feel like cheating, right?
Even some of our non-engineers use Copilot when they're just like playing around in Python, which is cool.
I don't know how good Copilot is. I mean, I've used some GPT to generate code. It's not that great.
So, yeah, I agree. It's not the best. There's a learning curve, though. But
yeah,
you can
prompt it into results.
You can prompt Copilot as well. So what some of the engineers at work will do is they'll write a comment, and then the next line, Copilot tries to write the function.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So here's what you need, though. You need it to truly, because here's the thing that's exciting about AI and coding. Coding is deterministic, right? Like it has rules.
And it can run your code for you.
It can run your code for you. It can learn your code base. And if it can learn your code base, it can write new code. So it can write unit tests for you. It can author all sorts of stuff to make you more efficient. Documentation, exactly.
So this is a fantastic point you bring up. Copilot is actually working on this in their nightly builds, which are the more unstable ones. They have something for literally everything you just said: unit tests, documentation, README, clean up your code, code review. It'll all come.
See. That's where one engineer starts to get really freaking powerful.
Yep.
If they can write highly scalable, testable code that's fully documented, because half of coding is remembering what you wrote 6 months ago. Yep. You got to go read all that again and try to piece together the context of load it in your mind. Yes. And if an AI is supplementing all of that, we're going to see a 15-year-old billionaire.
Yeah.
There's going to be some 12-year-old coding and he's going to build like the app or whatever.
Yeah. So that's where fine-tuning models comes in. So you can fine-tune the model on your code and say, hey, this is my code base. This is how it works.
Yeah.
These are all the other systems. Now go...
find performance bottlenecks.
Or, something like that. Or like...
Document it.
Eventually, they should be good enough to understand. And I don't think they should be like, as in, hey, they need to direct it this way. I think they will be good enough to... optimize your code.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's deterministic. You can run it. Find out where you could have potential issues by just doing, I believe it's called like monkey testing or monkey patching, something like this, where you just throw a bunch of crap at it.
Yep. Which is what AI is great at.
Exactly. Throw a bunch of random inputs, see where it fails.
Yep.
Flag it to either a person or to another bot. Yep. And then have that other bot go and fix it.
Yes. Holy shit.
And then so a lot of people are now saying, do you need programmers? If I just have a really good prompt engineer.
Well, like one programmer will be capable of so much.
Yeah, because they understand like some concepts of like Linux and whatnot.
But I think a lot of the future is going to be how well do you know AI and how well can you leverage it?
Yeah, so I think a lot of programming today is how well can you Google? I don't know.
Totally. How quick can you get an answer from Stack Overflow?
Exactly. Obviously, that's not the only thing, but I feel like I use Google a lot for work.
Totally.
But a lot of people have switched from using like just Googling stuff to chat GPT.
Already, and it's months
You put
old.
in your code block like this much. You're like, hey, what's going on here? We were doing it today. I was pair programming with my buddy that works here.
Yeah.
My coworker. He was having some Python import errors. I'm like, yeah, I always have to look this up because when you're importing when you're in a folder and you try to run something in your code there,
Right.
the module's not going to load everything properly. So you got to back out. And it's like, wait, but I just want to run this one file. Anyways, it's a whole thing. But all we did was send the import statements and then the directory structure, and it told us how to fix it. And it worked. And
That's
it gave me a
incredible,
reason.
dude.
It gave me a reason.
And then you learn.
And I learned. So for me, before we did this, and I was like, damn, I'm never going to learn if I keep doing this. But then there's always the explanation of why it works. Now, the thing is, ChatGPT is also confidently wrong
Yeah, that's a problem.
a lot.
Yeah.
But I know, with my limited coding knowledge, but I know it's some, like my experience that I've coded before, right? I know, like, okay, this is not actually wrong as hell. Let me be like, then I can just tell the bot
To
like,
fix the
actually,
problem.
that won't work because of this. And so
Yes.
now at that point, I'm like learning because I'm regurgitating some of the stuff
Yeah.
from before.
Yeah.
But then
Whoa.
eventually it'll get so good it won't be wrong.
That's also true.
Exactly.
But you enter this feedback loop where the engineer is improving because of the result of the AI.
That's giving you an incorrect answer potentially.
And it's helping you think through the problem. But so much of like these coding things, like how many times have you Googled something that you Googled 1,000 times before just because you're too lazy to actually remember how to do it?
Yeah.
You know, like yep. And like instead of that, you're going to feed that into
Your personal chat assistant.
your personalized chat assistant that knows your code base. This is an interesting example. So a lot of what I did at Snap was performance and optimization of the app.
Ooh.
And so it was like taking all these different metrics like startup time, how long does it take to transition between a screen or send a message, what's the latency, that kind of stuff. And we get all these stats. And then I would have to organize it so that our leadership team could make decisions about basically trade-offs. Like if you want this feature, it's going to cost that performance. Here's the impact. And at least just keeping an eye on things.
Right.
All that can be automated through OpenAI already. Like my whole job could just be freaking automated. It's crazy. But that wasn't actually the point. The point was another thing I worked on was documentation. And so I was trying to scrape in all these different documents across the company and build this one single source of truth that knew freaking everything. That is the most achievable AI model ever.
You just have to fine tune it and you're set.
So like what these companies are going to start doing is they're going to feed in all of their entire code bases and everything that it relates to. And instead of like asking an engineer, hey, what's the right architecture or module or where that one's deprecated or whatever, you just ask the AI and it gives you the perfect answer with like links and all this stuff.
Now your PM can go in and be like, okay,
yes,
hey, what API are we using for XYZ?
Yeah. Or what APIs are we using are included in the bundle that we're barely using?
Right. Like, can we get rid of this feature?
Yes. Like
now imagine if you hook it up with your analytics data and all this stuff now too. It's like
you're tying it to usage.
Everything,
oh my God.
Yeah. Everything goes crazy.
Dude.
Because now you can be like, okay, how many events does this actually get? Does this piece of code touch or get touched by users or whatever?
Yeah.
And how much does it cost us to keep this feature running? Should we just axe this feature?
Oh, that happens
We've
all
had
the
to
time.
think about this a lot internally.
It happens all the time.
Like we're spending a lot to keep this feature alive. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Are people actually using it?
Yeah. It's adding 2 megs to the bundle.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Or it's like, hey, we need to keep extra GPUs for this one feature.
Yep.
Like,
or like this, I mean, this thing is in a code path that could be moved to that path. Like all of these different trade-offs that engineers spend all their time thinking about, all these meetings to discuss.
And you know what? It might not, like, that's not impossible to do today. Some company can go and be like, okay, give us your GitHub credential, like let us auth with your GitHub. We'll have read-only access to all your repos, and we'll build you a knowledge base.
That's a great startup. That's a great startup.
Rubberducky.ai.
Rubberducky.ai.
You
I
know,
love the
rubber
AI.
ducky?
Is that a
Yeah.
real domain?
No, if
Oh,
not, I'm
okay.
gonna go buy it when I get home.
They're $125 a year. It's a little pricey.
Yeah, that's true.
I
I'm
was gonna
also
go register a ton of them, and I was like, oh, all
yeah.
right.
We actually we have Wombo.ai.
I saw NW.ai. That's very
W.ai
cool.
was a cool one. That
Yeah.
one was a pricey one.
Yeah. Well, I
I
don't know if you could share, but yeah.
can't share that one.
Yeah.
There's Dream.ai as well, which is our dream app.
You have Dream.ai?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great IP.
Yeah. So we knew W and Dream would be good. W is more like a brand recognition thing.
That's freaking cool.
Because like Wombo. Wombo's already like a weird name. Stems
It
from
rolls off the tongue. Wombo.
yeah.
Wombo. Yeah.
And it's
catchy.
5 letters, which 5-letter domains are not cheap.
Yeah.
Dream as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was Wombo. Wombo is an amazing name. Wombo.com is ours. Oh man, the trademark for Wombo was crazy.
Really?
We had to go get the trademark because some guy that's owned
Somebody
since
already had it?
92 or something has been going after people.
Did he give it up easy, or
No, but we got it.
you had to fight for it?
Yeah, but it came with Wombo.com, Wombo.net, all these domains that we probably will never use. Wombo.com
Yeah.
actually we use. But Wombo.ai is what we're more known for, I believe.
I like
Just
having
looking-
those in the arsenal.
I'm a big domain guy. You can
Yeah,
go
me
ask any
too.
of my coworkers. They're like, "What the hell is this guy buying these domains for?"
No, they're
They come in
good.
handy.
Yeah. Even just like a marketing page.
Yeah, and so we started using them for our growth guy. He likes doing the one linkers. So you go to like Wombo.com, it'll one link you somewhere, and he gets the analytics. So
Oh yeah.
he loves that where he doesn't have to kind of go build analytics around UTM parameters and all this stuff with a link.
So what do you see, like what have we not talked about in the AI landscape that people got to know that you see? Because you're into this, man. Like this is your
Yeah.
world.
It's a good question. I don't think AI. I mean, AI will, but it'll take over your job eventually. But you'll be happy when that happens. I think.
Yeah.
I hope.
I
It's just like,
think and hope it too.
Yeah, remember how you were talking about revolutions and platforms, and AI is a revolution. When DVDs came out, cassettes kind of went away.
Mm-hmm.
When Netflix went as big as it was, how often are you buying DVD players now?
Yeah.
So yeah, industries will change.
It's a disruptor.
But it's okay now that factory that was manufacturing, DVD players or cassette players is now manufacturing something else.
Right.
And then the cycle just keeps going. I forget the word. There's some econ term for this.
Like a treadmill, like things get recycled.
Like something else gets, like technology dies, and then something else will come back and replace
the flywheel.
it. Yeah. So something will come in and replace it.
Anyway.
With
flywheel.
AI, it's difficult though. It's because like humans have like human needs of just like gratification, want to succeed at things generally.
Yeah.
I think.
I think so too.
And so if you're not working, if you don't have to work,
yes,
what are you doing?
That's going to be a problem for people.
Yeah. So I guess people have to really think about what they want to do.
I haven't had a job for like 3 years, and I've had to invent jobs. Like this is my job.
Right.
I mean, it's a really fun job. I get to sit down and talk to you about AI. Like it's fucking fun.
Yeah, you're telling me I love what I do. Honestly, it's crazy, it's wild, it's fun. We get to work on consumers, like a really hard place to play and work in, but
are consumers fickle? Like do they or
so
like
everyone gets mad about everything, our users. It's just hard to get, like, our biggest thing is like people want retention. And especially with something like generative AI right now, it's hot. Who knows what it'll be in 5 years? Are people still going to be wanting to make images randomly?
Yeah, totally. It's so fun. It's a game.
Yeah. And so the retention thing is like really like the driving metric for, what do you call it? Consumer.
Yep.
Consumer apps, even on that, is like another just like difficult place to be. Like B2B SaaS is more straightforward because you have a clear path. Get clients, sell them,
Right.
lock them into a year contract, you're good to go. You're going to make like 50K or
Big
whatever
cash
per
flow or
person.
whatever, yeah.
Good cash flow. And then with things like Pipe, you can upfront that cash flow with your SaaS revenue and you're good to go. With the ad play and all this stuff that you have to do with consumer, it gets difficult, but it's fun because we get these emails from people. We get surprisingly a lot of emails for PTSD. People that have PTSD, they'll use the app to kind of express their emotions and stuff. And I never thought about this. I don't think I'm saving the world or anything. I'm just trying to make it a lot more fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
But never did I think it was going to help people like emotionally.
You know, that's totally interesting because one of the things I found talking to GPT, I cannot help but think of it as a person.
Yeah.
And a lot of therapy, I feel like, is just being able to express yourself. And if you can express yourself visually, textually, like whatever mediums they come up with in the future, that really will help people.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Like, how long is it going to be before we have an AI therapist or an AI girlfriend? That's going to be a problem. I thought about this. Like, when we get the sex bots, Elon Musk is going to make those bots hot.
Yeah. I mean, look.
They're going to do it. Sorry to bring up sex bots on your episode.
I think it'll come. That will come.
Yeah, like all that
if it
stuff.
hasn't already in some lab.
But
it's like human connection, right? And if you can get the AI to be as human as possible, now what happens to like our reproductive rates? Do they go down because people can't talk to real humans, and so they talk to robots?
Well, is it or like, are they disincentivized to talk to real people because the robots give them they're so satisfying to talk to?
That might happen. Like look at TikTok.
Yeah,
their algorithm is so damn good.
Yeah,
that people just get stuck on it.
I can get stuck on YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, exactly. Or YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
And so that I think was like the past. So it's like if we're talking about steps of AI, it's like analytical AI is what our CEO calls it, which is what a lot of people call it, I think, as well. But they're classifiers. They're telling you what something might be. So, or they're telling you a recommendation system, what you might like. We're in the age of generative now, which is new. We've never had.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so think of TikTok. Their model is so damn good at surfacing content.
Yeah.
Imagine now what they know about what you like. And if they can generate it on the fly for you.
Whoa. That's crazy. So you have a classifier. First of all, that's an interesting distinction that I've never thought of.
Yeah.
You have like these different AI. I like to think of them as species or whatever, but you have like a classifier. Now you have generators. And what's going to happen when a big data player that has all of these like sophisticated classification models starts using that? It's like Amazon Basics. You know, like they're going and creating all of the products that they're just looking at their stats, right? What do people order? What has the best margins? Rebuild it in a generic product.
Yeah. I don't know if other people are thinking about this, but there's UGC, which is like user generated content. Then there'll be like AGC.
Oh, that's funny.
Which is either like automatically generated content or AI generated content.
It's hard to imagine it'll be better though. But what if it was? Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a big bet to be made on it being at least as good, because no one could think like TikTok's algo could be that damn good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It is.
And maybe it's also the dopamine hit that you get and how quickly you're just like, boom, 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 next. Shorts is the same way.
Yeah.
Everyone saw that TikTok was doing well. So what happened? Instagram created Reels.
Yeah.
YouTube made Shorts.
Snapchat slept on it.
Snapchat.
I told you guys. Anyway, I was mad. I was fighting for it.
Yeah, they'll come.
They'll figure it out.
They'll have to, right?
Well, I mean, that's a whole separate thing about like competing in the ever decreasing attention span of people,
right?
And how that affects things.
If one player has all of it,
I mean,
you're stuck.
I just think we're gonna have a lot of opportunity. I think we're gonna have a lot of opportunity.
Well, now that these models are easier and easier to train, or not hyper parameterized, sorry, to hyper personalized.
Hyper personalized.
Yeah. So like that model that was able to spit out images of your face, Lenza, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a personalized model for you. It could also be your style of imagery, like we talked about earlier. That's a hyper personalized model.
Yeah. So like the future is going to be, we have this competitive landscape, and we have we're going to see a lot of mergers, acquisitions, people are going to be making all this new technology,
Yeah.
and where it's all going to lead to is, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, is a few big players with these large LLMs, right?
Yep.
And all the different types of models. I think of them as species. They're species.
Yeah, they are. They are. See, the thing actually, though, is where I was getting at was actually it's going to be significantly cheaper and cheaper now to fine tune these models. And so you'll have startups and stuff come along.
See, that's why I
that can
think your
do this.
business is so interesting, because
Yeah.
like if you're making money today and your costs are going to continuously decline,
You just have to hold out.
yeah, exactly. Well, and then elaborate your features and
Iterate.
and build more
Of
stuff.
course.
Like you were saying, are people going to want to generate images? Absolutely.
Mhm.
People have wanted to generate images since time immemorial, since we were inscribing them on
That's
the
true.
walls,
Yeah.
in cave walls or whatever. And so people want to express themselves visually. The players that will create the best experience will win.
So we hope.
And well, you guys already have a great experience, and I think
Yeah.
that there's a lot of opportunity. There's going to be like for the dorks who want to parameterize everything, and maybe you can like build extra things for that.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be for the people that are just like don't have a ton of
Casual.
AI, the casual users,
Yeah.
and it's their first exposure. But you can service both. I'm sure you can.
Yeah. So we internally know that we can. The problem is just like running product. Just like we're there's so many new papers, there's so many new models, so many new techniques coming out. It's how do you prioritize when you have
Yep.
such a small team?
Yep.
But if like cash flow was,
Infinite.
infinite,
That'd be nice.
it's so fun. Yeah, like we'd explore it all.
Well, but cash flow would become infinite as we trend towards AGI.
Correct.
And each engineer you have would be a multiplier
Like
on
5,
themselves.
10x.
Yes.
Now you have these 10x engineers that are.
Yes.
You've heard of 10x engineers?
No.
No. It's
Or
like this
maybe.
fabled concept of meme land of, yeah, I'm a 10x engineer. I get 10 times more done than you. There's
Oh,
also like
that's funny.
the fake 10x engineer of.
I
people
take
want
credit
this-
for.
Yeah, or people want this mythical engineer that can do it all. But not one engineer can do it all.
Yeah, because people
Before
need to
AGI.
specialize before
Exactly.
AGI. But now people actually can.
Yeah.
So you can take a specialist or generalist and they can work in either capacity.
Mhm.
So you already have everyone on your team using Copilot.
Mhm.
And this is in its nascent form. It's
Yeah,
infancy.
it's not even there yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were saying, it's not perfect, but it's still so good that people are willing to use it.
Well, one of the first tests that really got the juices flowing in my mind with ChatGPT was I use Google App Scripts a lot
Nice.
for a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
great platform.
It's good.
And one of the limitations that I have is their cache limit is like 1 meg.
Hmm.
But like I'll need to like cache 100 megs of a giant data set. And so I built this system that would chunk the data and store it across different keys, blah, 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 bring it all together. It was unreliable because sometimes the cache service would drop the keys for different reasons randomly. All I did was explain that problem to GPT, and it said, why aren't you using the property service? You should use the property service, not the cache service. The property service has like no limits on the key size or this blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh my God. And then I fed it the code and I was like, rewrite this code to use the property service. Instantly did it.
There it goes.
And then you could take that and put that into a cache layer for different things and combine them in different ways. But the fact that it could solve a problem that had been plaguing me for literally years, it's not like I spent a crazy amount of time trying to fix it. I just knew that once in a while I had to rebuild the cache.
Right.
And but still, because it knew the whole architecture of app scripts in a way that I didn't, because I didn't read all the documentation.
Yeah, because also sometimes the documentation is just
Out of date.
or you can't read it all. There's just so much. Like on AWS, I face this problem. So many services. Finding exactly what I need is very hard. The easiest way I've been able to do it pre-ChatGPT is I'd ask our account team, and they'd get me on with a PM or an engineer from that or a solutions architect. And that takes time, right? You're scheduling human people's time.
Yeah.
And then I was doing something else with instance storage. And so I don't want to get too deep into what I was doing. Not because of NDA or whatever, but I don't want to bore you.
It'll be interesting. I mean, as deep as you want or whatever.
Yeah. So okay, I'll go a little surf.
This is an engineeringly episode.
Okay, cool. So AWS, you get a GPU. It comes with storage physically on the server. It comes with 125 gig NVMe SSD. The problem is that SSD is not activated. It's ephemeral storage. You turn the instance off, you lose the whole thing.
Oh, it's like memory.
Yeah. And then to turn it on, you use EBS, which is Elastic Block Storage, which is like a drive that is somewhere else, same data center, that's hooked up via a fiber connection. I don't even know if it's a real fiber connection or not. And then so you say, hey, I want 30 gigs here or 70 gigs here. And so you pay for that. But you also have this 125 gigs sitting right on the server, the physical server where my GPU is. And so the bandwidth to get, like, not bandwidth, sorry, the latency to get to my my EBS, my block storage, is higher than the one sitting on my physical server.
Well, that makes sense. That is higher.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense. But I can't access the one on my damn server because it's not mounted, and my AMI doesn't allow it. So AMI is like the Amazon Machine Image. It's like an ISO when you boot up a new computer, like when you're launching Ubuntu or you need to restore Windows, you get the ISO and you reinstall the operating system. So the operating system has to support it. And now I'm like, God damn it. So I go looking for the documentation. And there's this crazy ass long rabbit hole I'm starting to go down. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? And so I go to ChatGPT and it just tells me like this, what I need to do. And I'm like, holy crap. Well, this has been like blocking my work because I don't want to look through the documentation.
Yeah.
And other things keep coming up. And so I'm like, okay, shoot, I have to backlog it. But this is something I can fix very shortly, like very easily.
And it solved it?
It worked.
So just to recap, so I just got a curiosity. You had like a local thing you were trying to access that you couldn't. You knew that like there was a way to access it. You fed that question into GPT and it unblocked you. I mean.
Yep. And I'm saving money now. And I'm booting up faster.
Okay, so now multiply that by every engineer on your team.
And this is something that wasn't a priority and wasn't going to get done.
Right, because it's not a big deal. Like you have a workaround. Like a small
portion of this. Latency. And then I didn't know how much faster it was going to be because I've never been able to access the storage. So I couldn't benchmark it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, damn, this is good.
It's so hard to read documentation. And guess what? You shouldn't have to read documentation. You should ask your question to something that has read all the documentation.
Boom.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now where it's going to suck, though, is when a new service or a new product comes out and it's not indexed. But you know what? You can easily fine tune. Or I can just take the documentation in some format. Say it's like 10 pages long. You have to keep clicking next. I copy, put it into ChatGPT, copy, put it into ChatGPT, summarize.
Yes.
Summarize.
And we only have these limits because it's still pricey. As the costs come down,
and it only allows so many tokens.
Yeah, exactly. It has a limit of tokens.
Yeah, but that's GPT-3 architecture. GPT-4.
Have you heard anything about GPT-4?
So they've built it. It's ready.
Wait, like this is the thing about working at like these cool tech companies is you get early access.
Hear all this crazy stuff. I don't have access to it.
Well, but like as an insider, you get cool
info. I hear little rumblings, but they're saying GPT-3 is. That's their first public one, right? GPT-1 and 2. I don't think they ever made publicly available.
I never heard of them.
Yeah, so those two are they have research papers and white papers and whatnot that they released, but they don't have a product offering around it, like GPT-3, the API, and then now ChatGPT, which is I think sits on top of GPT-3. Yeah, or use some similar architecture and then use like RLHF to train it. Where was I going with this?
GPT-4.
GPT-4, you're right. GPT-4 is, I think GPT-3 is like X billion parameters.
Yeah.
I don't know how many billion.
Yeah.
GPT-4 is like 2-3 times that.
Oh my God. But is it the parameter count increasing that creates the magic of GPT? Like, is it going to be...
So you can index more. I think it basically comes down to understanding more things.
Okay, so the misinformation should improve.
Yeah, and also the amount of things, like the token limits and stuff like that, theoretically should go up. And they're saying it's supposed to be amazing. If GPT-3 is this good, Can you imagine with the next iteration?
I'm hoping it's like another step function, but I'm worried that the breakthrough was generators and
Maybe, right?
yeah, like, or is it, what are the models called? Are they called transformers or generators? I think they're called transformers.
Transformers.
Google created transformers, and OpenAI uses those transformers to
so
create
just like
GPT.
diffusion models were created by, I don't know by who. Some research paper probably came out, and they like found them.
Right. And what they're basically trying to do is predict the next word, and which is kind of like what we're trying to do. You don't really know what you're going to say. You're just kind of speaking. And then depending on what, like you can't even analyze what you say. Your brain explodes. But like with those, they're always trying to predict the next word. And is that the magic breakthrough that won't really create a step function if we give it more information? I hope GPT-4 is better. It's hard to imagine that it could be way better. But getting back to the coding, I think the coding, because it is so scoped, it's such a finite problem. It seems like we should be able to create perfect coding co-pilots or coding companions.
Yeah, you would hope, and I do think eventually,
because it will have read all the documentation
and it'll know everything.
It'll know everything.
Like, say I'm trying to use like Stripe's API.
Yeah,
I can just ask it a question like, "Hey, how do I actually do this?" So now, like chatbots, like who is it, Zendesk, and all these people that have chatbots. Do they have chatbot? Who's the big chatbot player? I keep forgetting their name.
Zendesk seems like they would.
Zendesk, and then whatever. There's these chatbots that are like help FAQ or like help
customer service.
Exactly. Now, if it has, imagine a developer chatbot. I'm like, hey, how do I use this? So now Stripe would be hopefully willing to pay OpenAI to be like, here's all my documentation. Can you create us a bot that I can put on the side of my thing so I don't get customer support emails? Now that's less overhead. I need to keep on my payroll.
Yeah. And the engineers, I already do it. Like if I want to install a new package, the first thing I do is go to GPT-3 and say, here's what I'm trying to do. What are the popular services that already do it? It'll give me all those. Which ones of those have public APIs? It'll give me that. Which of these are, and I'm reading and asking follow-up questions. It's not perfectly accurate, and I do have to go do some research, and sometimes I've like installed things that I didn't use because it had misinformation and it didn't actually represent the features. But it is like, again, if you prompt it into accuracy, that's the key. But like you could just go and you could be like, even somebody who's never, like, you just have a tensory or like a very peripherally, what am I trying to say? A very surface level understanding of coding. You can say like, what is the best package manager for this problem? Okay. How do I install that? How do I get this CLI for it? Like you just don't need to know that much. You don't need to be an expert. That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to get to.
And I think we're talking about coding right now, but imagine like the rest of it. People thought that, the creative jobs would go last. With AI. I wouldn't consider, coding can be creative, don't get me wrong, but no one thought like artists were going to be the first to be like displaced. It was always, like menial, like blue collar jobs were going to go first. But here we are. And I think programmers are going to be.
Isn't that interesting, actually, though?
Yeah.
So now let's expand on that. Are doctors any different? Are lawyers any different?
GPT was able to pass the medical exam.
Oh yeah, I did hear that.
And the LSATs or whatever. MCATs, LSATs, yeah, both of them.
Yeah, I got like a B on like or like actually I think I got like a 125 on IQ or something.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, like I haven't looked into it too much, but I'd imagine my WebMD questions are now going to go from WebMD and Google to ChatGPT. But the problem is now WebMD is like they have like pictures and images and all that. When will ChatGPT start getting images?
Probably
like, does your rash look like this or like this?
Now, are you thinking of like integrating like as for Wombo, like as a general strategy? It's such an artistic platform. there's kind of two questions that come to mind, like just as a little bit of a tangent. Like,
No, please, yeah.
one of the problems I have with digital art is I can't make exactly what I imagine, and I can't prompt it perfectly.
This sounds like cheating. Like I told you to ask me
Okay.
this, but
Right. Okay. Tell me.
we're coming out with a new feature that allows you to. So you'll generate an artwork, and then you'll be able to edit it.
Oh, that's what
You'll
I've
just
needed.
and then the way you edit it is in a chat-like interface. You describe what you want.
Oh my God, that's exactly what I've needed.
Yeah.
So it is a solvable problem.
Yeah.
But like, how specific? Like, do you
So
have any
like
early results that are
yeah.
hopeful or promising?
It's looking pretty good. I wouldn't say it's like mind-blowing yet, but this is how it works. When we were doing latent diffusion before stable diffusion came out and changed the game, the quality we were getting was nothing compared to what stability has been able to do. But they retrained and they trained a model on using latent diffusion. We tried, but we didn't have the kind of money that we could burn, like, you know, a little bit over $500,000 to train. So we know, like, if we're early for this, we were early for latent diffusion and someone made it better, we feel that we can be early again here with the editing.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need to be able to edit.
And
I assumed there was a problem with it.
early, we can retrain after the model. So now you're already able to edit. So you know, hey, I can edit image that I created.
So like if I create a picture and a scene of, like, let's say there's a beautiful woman standing in Times Square, and she has a red dress, and I want to change it to a black dress.
Easy.
Really? That specific?
Yeah.
Hair color, eye color?
Yeah. So first what you'll do is you'll do and obviously in a perfect world, yes, all of it. Easy ones that I've seen is changing the color of clothes, putting hats on, changing backgrounds. Like right now, like there's a background behind me. We can say make it dark and it'll like dim the lights. Make me bald, give me a beard. So that's like kind of stuff that there's been like the gimmicky apps or whatever. I wouldn't want to call them gimmicky, but this stuff has existed, right? Like make someone bald, or like the beautify apps and stuff like that. But now we're getting a bit further on with like it using like cooler AI techniques, where I can be like, hey, make me old.
But you could be specific. You can okay, now can I look at something in the scene and can I say, like, add a fire hydrant on the left street corner. On that corner?
Yes.
That would be
where
crazy,
I really want to go is literally, so there's this, have you heard of in painting? In painting is like you draw, like, so you have your painting, you can draw a little portion here and be like, you know, yellow sun, and we'll just put a sun in that little portion.
I see.
Like
Location based. Oh, that's a really good idea, actually.
You put a mask and then you just paint on that portion of the image.
That's a really good idea. I hadn't thought of that. So
you can do that in like the editing feature.
So you can combine prompting with masking.
Yep. And then there's another thing. So we were talking about how you generate an image and then you edit it.
Yeah, that's power.
I can also, this won't be in V1 because of product restraints on our end, but you can take a picture of someone and edit that. It doesn't have to be generated.
What?
Yeah.
Is it going to still look photorealistic?
Yes.
So, like, could I take a picture of myself and like like whiten my teeth and change my eye color and I don't know, just whatever.
So that's why we need to. We're actually in the process of fine tuning that model and making it better.
What does that process even look like?
Just using better images, using better data. So the model currently was trained in a lab that had to do it as cheaply as possible.
What does it look like to train a model?
Fantastic question. Again, I'm going to butcher this probably, so don't hold me accountable.
Oh, I will appreciate it.
What they do is they take a bunch of labeled data.
Yes.
Labeled with like edits, because we're editing right now. And so you give it human-like edits, and then we see how it changed. So like there's this water bottle. I can put it in my hand like this. You take an image, and then you take another image like this and say, without the water bottle or remove the water bottle.
And that's the labeling.
Yeah. And so now you have both images, one with the bottle, one without the bottle. And then so it knows, hey,
And
this is
so
water
that's
bottle,
how
let's
it
remove it.
learns.
Yeah. And there's this, I think there's another technique involved called like prompt to prompt by Google, where they use GPT 3 or a language model, some language model, to create new prompts off of it. I'm not very well versed in how this technique works yet because it's pretty fresh, but it should be coming to our app in like a week and a half.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to look forward to that.
Yeah.
But so you take these labeled data sets.
Yep. And
where do
then-
you get the labeled data sets?
So either you make it yourself or someone made one and they open sourced it and they're, use it. We've already used it. We've labeled.
And is it always okay? So, man, so now the layers are starting to get clearer. So, we have all these layers in machine learning. One layer is that you have a bunch of data and that data is labeled.
Yep.
That's the training data.
Yeah.
And there's an archive of that on the internet that you can go and download somewhere.
Yep.
And or you can create your own, but it's probably going to be better to use the archive.
Real world archive data, yeah.
Then you start creating these models based off of different architectures, and you feed that architecture the data, and we've come up with like a few models. Like in image generation, we have diffusion.
Yep.
In text, we have transformers.
So you can also do this thing called like audio diffusion. So where you denoise audio.
Is that like deep fake stuff?
Or
Denoise audio. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
so like
so you'll
improve
take, like,
quality.
yeah, you can improve quality and you can also create new audio. There's also video diffusion.
See, that seems
text to
so
video.
processor intensive. Like I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Is it not cheap? Yeah. How
No.
could it be, right?
Yeah, there's like a lot of other crazy issues to deal with as well when you're generating video.
Yeah.
Because right now we can generate frames. I can generate a still. And what is video? Just a bunch of stills put together
Totally.
at some FPS, frames per second. Gamers like 60 plus or whatever, right? So if we can just take all these stills that I made, slap them together, do 30 of them a second, 24 of them a second, you now have a video
Yeah. But it takes 2.4 seconds per frame.
to generate.
For now.
Yeah. And we're not running on like the latest and greatest hardware because the price performance isn't there yet. But we've optimized our model. So yeah, I talk about this 2.4 seconds that it takes to generate an image right now. Before it used to take us 15
Right.
when we first launched.
Right.
And then we optimize.
You'll get it to 300 milliseconds.
And we'll get it down.
But then you're not going to, you're still going to spend 2.4 seconds. It's just going to be way better.
So you don't have to spend the 2.4. 2.4 includes the number of steps. But if we're faster, it won't take 2.4. I'm counting to end to end.
And if you're doing a video frame by frame, there's some kind of information that can be retained between frames that you don't have to regenerate. Maybe there's an efficiency gain there, possibly.
Theoretically. So that's where I was kind of getting to is the issue right now is a temporal one. I can generate a bunch of frames, but how do I make sure that, you stay in this portion, you're not floating to that. Oops, sorry.
Totally.
You're not going to that side of the frame or that side of the frame. And say you're walking down that way, right? But if I keep generating, I need to make sure your body is going
interpolating pixels
exactly,
and
they have to interpolate in a coherent manner that way while you walk that way. You can't just start walking that way and then end up here in one frame.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
you have to keep going on the path you were on. But it seems like people have been able to solve that.
And it's an engineering problem.
Yeah.
So they will solve it eventually.
Yeah. I mean, Facebook has a make a video or text some video thing already out.
I think that's a cool use case, but I honestly think that digital art and text generation are like two great use cases.
Yeah. And there'll be more though.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just have to wait for the models to get here.
So there'll be like audio stuff, like clean up audio.
Clean up and generate brand new audio.
See, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So you feed in, and how much training data do you think you need before you can reconstruct somebody's voice? Perfect fidelity.
Great question. I was just thinking this in my head. There's this thing called, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm gonna butcher this. Volley or Valley. It's like Dolly with the D, but with a V instead. And it takes about, I think you just need sub 30 seconds of your voice.
What?
And it
Oh,
can
that's
generate your voice.
nothing. Sub
It
30
might be even
seconds.
open source. You might even be able to play around with it.
Oh my God, I was thinking you need like 50 hours.
No. These guys have done some amazing things.
See, but I bet if you do give it 50 hours, you get some pretty accurate results.
Better, yeah. So there's also this notion of like zero shot. So being able to do it like instantly, which is where everyone I think wants to get to with this kind of stuff. Like imagine just having one sample of like boom, and it's able to do it. Obviously, it's in audio. It's a little bit harder to understand if that's even doable.
Yeah.
But imagine in Lensa, you gave them 15 to 20 images or however many images, right? What if it just did it with one image?
How could it? Like,
That's zero shot.
I didn't even know. Is that like a problem? Like we have so much data. I feel like that's an optimization layer but like what would be the use case for optimizing that layer?
So that is the user experience.
Oh, right. Okay. That's a good point.
I don't have like 20 pictures ready to go.
That's a good point.
Of myself that are like exactly like what they need.
Yeah.
Probably I'm smiling or, I have sunglasses or I'm with other people.
So they have some like probably per case way to like read in a face and then be able to recreate it instantly without a ton of training.
And so that's where zero shot is. That's what I've been told is zero shot, which makes sense, right? There's no training involved. It's zero shot learning.
Dude, that is wild.
Yeah.
See, every layer can be optimized. That's what's crazy.
So that makes the experience better. And like, imagine now you're doing some deepfakes, which is deepfake. You take one image, and we generate over it.
I mean,
I don't think that's zero shot because that's doing like something else where you're putting your face over multiple frames onto someone else's. But it's in that same vein of like, hey, you just needed one image and you're able to get you singing and dancing.
We're going to need like some kind of platform to be able to attribute or verify the source of materials. Like we need something that gives us the Twitter verified badge for 1 + 1 = 2 and the Earth is round. Like you could just look at every other planet in the solar. Anyway, like. Yeah, I was talking to this person. They were like, "There's a glass dome above the Earth," and like all this crazy shit. I'm like, okay, if the Earth is flat, why can't you walk off the edge of it? You'd be able to find an edge.
Fly at the edge.
And they're like, "No, it's a disc." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a disc. That's a ball." It's like anyway, it's like hilarious how people have such a tenuous understanding themselves of science and technology, but. It won't really matter what people understand if you can search your question into a chatbot and it gives you a verified check mark that like this species has determined this is a verified fact. And then they'll still say NASA faked the moon landing.
Right. And I'm sure if you prompt it enough, ChatGPT will tell you NASA faked the moon landing, unless that's one of their things, just like we were talking about the president stuff, right, with Trump and Biden.
Do you think it's even worth
hard-coded in there?
Do you think it's worth like setting up all these guardrails, just knowing that I guess it's worth it because of how powerful it is,
and we don't know when the kind of like I don't want to say doom or whatever, but like when AGI will come fully. In 5 years, we might see a speck of it in a lab somewhere, but it gets shut down quick, right?
Now, do you think it'll be like? It comes on the scene all at once, or do you think you'll just be interfacing with this different AI tech and it'll just get better and better until one day it's indistinguishable?
Well, I'd imagine, like I mentioned, right, the products are going to bring it into the mainstream. So like normal
and elaborate the models.
Exactly. So like right now, ChatGPT, now a lot of non-tech, non-engineer, non-AI people, I like to call it like normies. Normal people that don't deal with this stuff day to day.
Think it's alive.
They know what the hell this is. They're learning now that AI is like this crazy thing, and they get a glimpse of it just like probably the people that have been building Jasper for so long have known that you can do. And so now, they're like, okay, so the AI can understand this. And eventually some other video product will come out, a cooler, deeper, more engaging and realistic deepfake comes out. There's all these more crazy techniques come out, and then slowly everyone's now accustomed to it and then understands what AI can do, And then OpenAI comes out and says, hey, we have this cooler, newer model. Stability comes out with something else. And then I don't think AGI is just going to be a one-stop.
Yeah, right.
Boom.
It has to be iterative.
Yeah, you're not going to get there
One
unless someone is like sitting on it.
that'd be interesting, right? If somebody had some new architecture.
Well,
but
so you probably heard recently that Sam Altman's like lobbying for like, hey, these open source things are not safe.
I didn't hear that. What open source?
So like Stability is all open source, right? So he's like, hey, these image models, you can already see the crazy shit that's happening.
Yeah.
If we keep this going at this rate, we're gonna like some mad scientist in his bedroom or whatever is just gonna crack the code and do some crazy shit or start.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few things that come to mind with that are terrifying. One is like one person could like go and create a troll farm, right?
Right, but I mean, obviously, the one thing that we're leaving out is you need compute. Still.
Oh, that's a good limitation.
Yeah.
Nice.
But if you're rich enough,
if you're George Soros or whatever, like if you're some like mega billionaire that has his own agenda.
Yeah. What's that guy's name? The island guy.
Yeah, Epstein.
He had the money.
Yeah. He could do some damage.
He did some pretty shady shit.
Yeah.
Imagine if he had like, instead of like kids or whatever, it was like he was using AI to do something even crazier, more nefarious.
Yeah.
Like, if there is more nefarious than what he was doing.
Well, I mean, like manipulate people, like build a COVID that really is bad or whatever. Like,
and it's...
I don't know, like real world destruction.
That's what OpenAI's whole thing is like, hey, we want to build this cool thing, but we need to make sure that we have the guardrails in place.
Yeah.
And that's why keeping it open is bad. So I get kind of where they're coming from. But then again, I also think like, okay, but then you're also building, like, look at what ChatGPT is doing right now, where only like you can do something good about Biden, but not Trump.
Yeah, they're like, building their own biases into the system.
And again, I don't want to make it political. I just don't want skews.
Yeah.
And then you can't go and say, hey, the people that are letting it go run free are bad.
So, I think that's a really good point. And they probably have to set up some guardrails to protect themselves, not even themselves, people from how powerful AI is. And so they're just going to make mistakes along the way. And the crazy thing is how disruptive all this can be, though. Like if you can, I mean, the thing that I just come back to is if every engineer on your team represents 10 people, then your startup can compete with Google. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I think that's why Google's scared of ChatGPT.
Well, then it comes down to like, what is the quality of your ideas more than are you well capitalized or do you know the right people?
Yeah.
It's going to be more egalitarian in that way.
Wow, I didn't think about that. Holy cow. Before it was all about the execution.
Yeah. Well, but the execution is...
can execute it.
Yeah, but the execution is tied into who do you know and what's your... Yeah, like...
if you have the money to even execute. Like someone else could have had any idea.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to translate into Fusion, but we didn't have the money to execute it.
Right.
But now, if anything can be done for cheaper, faster... then there's a low barrier to entry into anything.
This is why I think we have to be headed for like a utopia or a dystopia, and there's no middle ground. Because like if everything's free and easy, what does that mean? Like, you know?
I didn't think about that. Wow. Because this whole time I've just been like, in my head, I'm like, no, they can't take my job. They can't take my job. But here we are.
Well, hopefully we all just are more, we're all more capable and everyone gets to be more creative and build more cool shit and just do more interesting things.
Yeah, and I think that's their hope.
Yeah.
That's OpenAI's goal.
Yeah.
And also like Stability is also on the same path. I keep talking about them because they're kind of going at it.
Stability and OpenAI.
Yeah.
I've not seen many people use Dolly, but
because you can't.
Oh, they right. It's locked down.
And only certain people have access to the API because it's so good. They don't want you. Before you couldn't make like images of people, like famous people. So like if you wanted like Barack Obama or whatever,
that's interesting.
You can't make it because they don't want you being like, hey,
that makes sense. Actually,
X person with like 10 dicks in their mouth or something.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
And that shit's gonna happen.
Right. Because somebody
100%.
will train their own model. But that is a good limitation. So we got to set up guardrails,
Especially on
and
images, when images get so real. Just like deepfakes, people were really scared of deepfakes early on because
yeah,
can you
because how can you
imagine?
tell? How can you tell?
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to need some kind of verified truths.
So OpenAI actually on that note has a way of telling you if some content was generated by GPT-3 or by an LLM.
I can kind of hear the tone in its voice.
Really?
Yeah, like I have these Upwork
Mm.
contractors, and they are sending me notes with GPT. Like I
And you're
can
like, wait
tell.
a minute, did
Yeah,
you write this?
I
You
don't
did.
mind. I think it's cool. I think it's awesome.
Hey man, I think a lot of people won't mind. Some people might get upset, but you got to learn to move with the times.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if this person got what you wanted done in 10 minutes, you wanted them to spend 10 hours thinking about it, like,
Well, also, if
still
it
got done.
equips somebody with the ability to communicate who has a language barrier, and like that's a big deal. That
Yeah,
opens up economies for entire worlds, like the third world.
yeah. And I think that's where the most good will come.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
The
those
most
guys,
benefit.
like, people in the third world don't care about doing all this crazy messed up shit.
Yeah,
They just want a better life.
yeah.
Or at least that's what I think.
There's probably a couple,
I'm sure
super
there's people,
villains.
yeah, I'm sure. But like, I don't know. A lot of those
But
guys
that's
are
where the
gonna get a lot of
benefit will
benefit.
be best served.
Yeah, I mean, OpenAI is also one of the largest researchers of UBI.
I heard that they have an experiment running for
Yeah,
5 years.
yeah. Which also I'm like, damn, why does it take 5 years? But then I'm like, oh, okay, makes sense. You got to train all these different scenarios, different models, because they obviously think AGI is coming, and when it comes,
What are we gonna do?
how do we do
It's
it?
got to be
We got to
UBI,
model
man.
it.
Like, what? I don't know. What do you think about it? Like,
I've actually chatted about this a lot with people. It's just like I don't know. Like, if there's UBI, do people? What is the goal? What drives a person to do anything? Right now, it's
I don't. I think it can't.
vices. Like I don't know.
I think it. Well, yes, a lot of people will descend into their vices and comforts and all that stuff, but I think that it's important to provide a baseline to everyone in society when everything is automated and free. And so, like, if the cost of bread and housing trend to zero through automation and robotics and AGI,
Oh,
then we redistribute that back through some kind of tax,
right.
even like $700 a month. Like that's not going to be enough to change.
Yeah,
Nobody can really live on that,
yeah,
but they can get their health insurance, they can get their food.
yeah. As long as I mean, so where does the 700 come from? Is what a lot of people might ask. Like right now, we had
Tesla,
this.
they got to fucking pay for it, pay for all the automation.
That's true.
Yeah, like how many drivers
So
are they
should
going to
they?
displace?
Yeah. So should they be the ones that are paying?
I think that any tech company that automates society should be taxed at a very marginal tax, like nothing crazy. It's not going to take that much
But they
compared to
become
the.
the sole. They become a monopoly on bread distribution or whatever. So they're still making money.
I mean,
I hope.
yeah, it's really complicated. Like
Yeah.
maybe if you had some kind of central fund that, like, if the government deemed that this company was automating this sector of the job market and displacing this number of people.
Mhm.
But then, like, the thing, if you look at the whole history of humanity, its jobs are changing. Like,
Yeah.
we never
Like we
run
talked
out of
about the
stuff to
VCR
do.
factory to DVD
Exactly,
factory, but
exactly.
it's
It's
turning into
that
something
treadmill or
else.
whatever,
Yeah,
that thing.
someone will go have to now. Whoever's making the bread will now go make servers.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
that
Or
makes
art,
sense. Or art.
or yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes it comes back to me, and I think is like, okay, so how do we innovate? Is Samsung and Apple, are they going to make the iPhone 30?
Yeah.
Will they keep pushing? Will we get better OLED technology? Will we get better tech if there's no incentive? But now maybe the incentive structure changes
I
since
think,
money is now fake or whatever, right? It's not needed.
yeah, yeah, we become a credit society, and you get
Yeah.
your monthly allotment of credits. That's enough to live. You can hoard credits if you want, but like everyone already has a
Can,
replicator in their house or
can I get a
whatever.
Ferrari?
Well, you have to earn the Ferrari.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, I think we'll always have status. We'll always have some
Right.
way to signal status.
We'll
Eh,
need it. I mean, I'm not saying that I like status or anything, but it's like
It's just part of
it's
our
part of
animal
our life.
nature.
Yeah.
We'll
People
need
want to be at the top of the kingdom.
yeah, we'll need some way to signal all those things, but all that's bullshit. Like nobody really cares about that. That's rich people games.
Right.
The real thing that matters is making it so that everyone has the Maslow's hierarchy of needs satisfied.
Yes.
You
This always
have
comes up.
yeah, Maslow. He
Yeah.
had some great ideas.
Yeah.
So you want everyone in your society to be able to actualize. And what does that mean to actualize? Well, it means to fill whatever the measure of their potential is.
Right.
You're a seed that can be something. You're an acorn, you want to be an oak tree. How do you get there? Well, you're never going to get there if you're planted in rotten soil, or if you can't
yeah,
like
you're in
find
garbage can.
or yeah, like if you're in a garbage can, right? But if we can make it so that everybody is planted in fertile soil, which we can do, then we're going to get a lot more oak trees, a lot more clean air. I mean, it seems like this is all not even necessary for America. The real place we need to be doing this is in the poorest countries in the world. I don't even know,
Yeah, no, I agree.
Africa. I don't even know where it is.
Me neither.
But
yeah,
whatever,
there.
wherever people are truly struggling for clean water, daily bread, that kind of shit is where the energy is a big one.
People don't have running water or energy in certain places of the world, right?
That is where we need to deploy the resources
version of this that comes out.
Yeah. But I think we are going to have something. Otherwise, it's going to be a monopoly for real, where all of the wealth gets concentrated in a few individuals, and you just have to pray and hope they're good kings. That's a bad system. That's why we have a democracy. It is where we're at, right? It is where we're at.
We're praying that OpenAI,
yeah,
stability. All these other large players aren't.
And Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, and luckily they're doing cool shit with their money, right?
Right, and they're not just wrecking us.
Yeah,
because
Elon depends on how you look at it.
Depends on who you are.
Yeah, like if your job is driving, you might not
like what Tesla's doing,
exactly,
or what Waymo or Cruise,
exactly,
these people are doing. Yeah,
right.
No, I agreed. But again, this goes back to the VCR, the DVDs. Things churn, and you will change.
Yeah,
we have to adapt, right?
We have to adapt.
As a society.
We have to adapt as a society and just be comfortable with the fact that the jobs of today will not be the jobs of tomorrow.
Yeah. Like before, like 40, 50 years ago, were there programmers?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that is like one of the biggest needs in the universe is like every programmer demands, I used to always say this, it's like every programmer demands like 1.2 programmers. So like if you hire a programmer, you automatically need 20% of another programmer. Now, does that equation change with AGI? Probably.
Right. Yeah, and now people can go do things that, I don't know, pique their interest in another way.
Yeah. So the thing that I think is pretty cool is if Elon Musk really can pull this shit off with the Tesla bot, and OpenAI builds the brain, Elon Musk builds the body, we bring the two together. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
Okay, now what if a Tesla bot was $500 a month? Wouldn't you buy like 50 of them? Why wouldn't you buy 5,000 of them and just get those things working for you? Go build an orchard. Go build a freaking pyramid.
$500 a month. That is very reasonable.
That's very reasonable for what you get for an automatic machine that can go to the grocery store and clean your house and do your laundry and do your taxes. That kind of shit. Like that would be crazy. And honestly,
do you think the government will let this happen?
That's a good question. I mean, I think they'll be incentivized to, because we all just want to get richer and have more cool shit. I think at the end of the day, everyone wants more luxuries.
But if I now have these bots in my possession, I know how to tinker around with them a little bit. Some guy straps guns to these bad boys. I don't know if that'll happen, because I'm sure they can remotely turn these off or whatever.
Well, what they should do is the same guardrails that OpenAI puts in. They should create physical material science. Like you can prove at the material science level that the actuators break past 10 miles an hour. So it cannot run faster than 10 miles an hour.
And
then it like figures out nanotechnology and like evolves itself to be able to like, this
is where Terminator comes in.
Yeah. Or Will Smith's movie AI Robot.
Oh, iRobot.
Yeah, we might be headed there. But I think we're actually not. I think we are headed towards a utopia where everyone gets way more productive and it's going to be gradual. And really, the thing we have to watch out for is the haves and the have-nots, because it's going to feel pretty fucking unfair when one person is capable of basically everything and you feel stuck in a rut. That's going to create a lot of envy and jealousy
Animosity.
and
All of it,
animosity.
yeah.
And so like that's where I think the redistribution has to happen, where we just get real and be
Well,
like,
people want to. Like right now, OpenAI or Microsoft spent a shitload of money on OpenAI.
more than $1 billion?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So Microsoft's gonna be like, hey, I need to recoup my costs.
Mm-hmm.
Which sounds fair, right?
Yeah.
I'm for it. Yeah, you paid all this money, you should get your reward. But now what? Like, what about the person that needs it more than Microsoft?
Yeah, I mean, this is why we have to figure out what. So, do you know the results of the UBI experiment from?
I don't know if there's results yet.
Hmm.
But if there are, no, I don't. I wish. That'd be
See,
interesting.
I have to imagine that it will take 80% of people will just become plants. You know, it's like they live, they die, it didn't really matter,
Right.
whatever. But then that 20% that gets
That's
unlocked,
kind of how life is right now, though.
it is, right. And so, yeah, actually, right. So, like,
It's sad to
80% of
think
people
about,
really
but,
are
like,
just NPCs in the video game.
In 1,000 years, will anyone know who I am?
Yeah,
I hope, but I don't know. Maybe everyone hopes.
I don't think history
so.
has a long memory for any of us. I mean, who do we remember from history? Marcus Aurelius, Genghis Khan. I don't know. There's a couple. Those guys are like one of their entire whatever
people, and there was a lot less people back then.
Are we going to remember Steve Jobs in 100 years? He changed the world, right? He invented the iPhone.
It's a great question.
I don't think so, man. I think history has a short memory because people alive, they just care about the here and now.
That is very true.
And that's reasonable. We all have our time. When it's over.
When I'm dead, am I going to care?
And probably not. I don't know. Maybe this is a good question for us to end on because I don't know, like what I don't want to monopolize your time.
No,
like,
you're good.
Okay, I mean I could literally talk about this stuff all day.
You're good.
But yeah, like, do you think that this whole artificial intelligence revolution is going to challenge people's spiritual beliefs? Like, if we essentially build a machine god, what does that mean for religion?
I think a lot of people already believe that we're working backwards. It's like we're in some simulation, right? Like the Matrix. People are like, yeah, AI has already been invented. Y'all are just playing another simulation. I don't think that.
Okay.
I feel like I have a lot of control over my own being. Maybe it's all just in my head, like Matrix. I do think people are going to get, and I'm sure this is a general trend that's been happening as science has progressed and all this stuff. I don't know if this is a real fact or not, but it seems like the amount of religious people I knew back in the day versus what I know now and what it used to be from like what we've read in history seems very different.
Yeah. The growth rates of religion have been declining for like I believe I grew up Mormon. Sorry Mormons, but like if you do look at the stats, the growth rates have been declining since the 70s every year.
And that's just due to like scientific revelations and the internet and whatever you want to call it. Right now, AI is going to be like.
Well, the thing that I think gets challenging is like what happens when people start living to 150 and 250 and like, things that are unimaginable to us today that become possible because of AI.
Yeah, because AI can help you figure out
right, anything, space travel, or like what happens like when we have a colony on Mars and on the moon, and those kind of things challenge, I think, God in a major way. Have you ever heard this expression, I think from Carl Sagan, that God is a ever shrinking damn it, I'm not going to remember, but the basic idea is that God represents everything we don't know, and the more that we discover, the smaller God gets.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole thing, right? Religion was used as a way to explain things back in the day.
Right. It's a mechanism for finding the truth that's been supplanted by science.
I think once we figure out how we got here, if we ever figured out, like I think right now, evolution, right? Everyone believes evolution, or I guess I can't say everyone. We're in Texas right now.
Yeah, that's true. There's some creationists out there.
Yeah, but like, we got here somehow.
Yeah, that's all we know, right? We got here somehow.
And then someone might be like, okay, there must be people outside somewhere else. Why are we the only ones that are here?
It's a great
Us 8
question.
billion or 7.5 billion, whatever you want to call us. Once we figure out venturing out into space further, we might run into another civilization. Are there aliens? I don't know.
What do you think?
I feel like it feels very, very difficult that in the Milky Way, we're this tiny little speck of dust, and the Milky Way is a tiny speck in the entire universe, galaxy,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Universe, yeah. There's got to be someone out there. I don't know how far they are, if we'll ever see them definitely not in our lifetime. Maybe our lifetime. Who knows if AGI is coming in 5 years.
The thing
eventually, I think there has to be.
There has to be mathematically. Yeah. Like, there's no chance that we're just like this unique creation, blah, blah, blah. I kind of like this idea of panspermia. Have you heard of that?
No.
It's, I think, a pretty good explanation. It's just that, like, so in space, you have all of this stuff moving around in space, and you have like an asteroid that hits a planet. When it hits that planet, a bunch of ejecta flows out into space. What if that ejecta had a bacterium on it that was resistant to the vacuum of space? Well, like, all of a sudden, life can spread infinitely across the universe. So, like, the evolution of life, like DNA is all the same. You're 40% a banana, you're 60% an insect, you're 80% a monkey, you're 100% a human. But like 40% a banana, that's a big percentage. You know, like, that's like a lot of code resharing. Right. Or like, that's a lot of code sharing.
Now that you put it like that, that sounds very plausible.
Yeah, like, we're all basically the same genetic code. We've got 4 letters that makes the whole DNA thing.
Yeah.
All it has to do is evolve once anywhere in the universe, and then it can spread through basically these like spermia, panspermia.
Yeah.
And so it kind of simplifies the requirements of life from some insurmountable challenge into, okay, in the vast cosmos and all of space and time, it only had to happen once, and then it could propagate.
Right.
And like, galaxies merge with each other. Like, we're going to merge with Andromeda. Like, all of these different, there's all these different interactions. So it didn't even have to come from within our local group of galaxies. It could have happened in the first, 5 billion years of space and time, and just been propagating forever.
Yeah, like, one thing that doesn't make sense to me is how big of an asteroid had to hit for all these dinosaurs to go extinct.
I have no idea. Probably pretty big. I don't know. But it was a good thing it did, because that's when we came on the scene.
That's right, yeah. I don't know. This is wild. I do definitely believe, though, as AI and more technological advances come, the religion is going to go down.
It's going to get challenged.
Yeah, 100% at least challenged, yeah.
Yeah. I think people need to believe in something, though.
Yeah.
But why can't you believe in the species? Why can't you believe in the fact that, as far as we can tell, we're the only shit in the universe that can talk?
True.
Right?
Well, animals communicate, right?
And they do, and that's cool too. But like, there's nothing, like, you can't talk to anything else. You can't talk to the moon. You can't talk to the ocean.
Right.
Like, everything in a star is way less complicated than an ant. Like, what is a star? A giant cluster of hydrogen or whatever. It's got some elements.
Right. Yeah.
It's like a couple of things. An ant is like infinitely more complex. And then you get to mammals, and then you get to humans, and then you get to, somebody like Stephen Hawking or Einstein or whatever, like people that create breakthroughs in physics. And that's another thing I think that AI is going to challenge. One of the things that I got to calm down about this, because I get a little too excited. But like, I get really annoyed with physicists who put limits on things, and they like this expression that that's physically impossible. I'm like, according to physics, that's like saying that's arithmetically impossible. Okay, well, that's why we created calculus.
Right. I think there was like that. There's 2 kinds of physics too, right? There's like one that Newtonian, and the
quantum,
and they both are at odds with each other, right?
Right. There's no grand theory that
Yeah.
unifies everything. Although, but that could be cool.
There's like the Schrodinger's cat thing. Like, we can't measure where something is, and when we measure it, we lose
The observer effect and the uncertainty
exactly.
principle.
So like, how does that make sense with when we're doing
Exactly.
other shit? Like, okay, so you're telling me you're flying people to space,
Yeah.
but you still haven't figured out this, like, we haven't like come to terms with.
I'd like to ask
being
a
two places at
physicist
once,
this
yeah.
that is like very confident in their understanding of physics. Is like, as far as I can tell, most of the balance sheet of the universe is unknown. Like, is dark matter basically.
Mm.
Well, what is dark matter? We don't know. Like,
Yeah.
it's some kind of like quantum effect, but we don't really have a clue what it is. And so the point is, like, what is infinity? You know, like, there's obviously higher mathematics, there's obviously higher physics yet to be discovered.
Mhm.
And until we have a complete understanding, this is a question that I think needs to be answered,
Mhm.
and we're very far from, is what is the nature of reality? The religious people like to say that my God created the earth, and
Right.
it's the God of Abraham, or it's the Buddha God, or it's the whatever, Zeus, right?
Right.
And they like to say that this one theory explains everything.
Mhm.
Everything can be contained in that theory. Crazy. Not true.
I don't believe there's
how
like
can it be true?
one thing that you can say is for everything. Like, there's no one universal law to explain it all.
Well, if there was, we would be able to explain every physical phenomena ever witnessed, and we can't.
Right.
Yeah. So we know that our knowledge of the reality is limited
Mhm.
based off of these phenomena that we can't explain. And then the question becomes, how limited is it? Maybe the wise thing to think would be like, we don't know shit about shit about shit about shit,
Mhm.
and everything is yet to be discovered.
Right, because when we put these barriers on our knowledge,
It
or these
constricts our
boundaries,
thinking.
but with AI, now you have this thing that doesn't have these barriers.
Yes.
And a lot of people are explaining, like, our head of AI, he's a physics guy. And so he's like, the reason I want to do AI is because I want to learn more about physics.
See,
and
I love
reality.
that. I love that.
And he's like, he's super philosophical. He's a genius. He was saying that with AI, you can have like this companion that can help you understand these other things that right now we just don't have the time to either research or like
Explore, dedicate our
physically
lives
can't
to.
do these calculations.
Yes.
And so now AI can just go run all these simulations like
Yes.
AGI, and that's what he's like, now we'll know. He just wants to know. Curious guy. Interesting.
Yeah, like what kind of theoretical physics? So this is another question that's very philosophical related to AI. Is it going to be able to generate its own new things? Like, people say that AI can only generate what it's managed to
What it's seen.
right?
That's how it was before, though. So all these images that we generate are never before seen.
Exactly, right.
Each one of them is unique.
Is totally unique, never seen before.
Never seen before.
So that's my point. Is like, we're already there. AI is already creative.
Now, it's taking inspiration, for sure.
Well, it's a tool. It's a paintbrush.
Yeah, and it's just like a human brain. Excuse me. It's like a human brain. If I wanted to paint something, that's based off the things that I've seen before in the past. If you told me as a baby to paint something, I'm going to paint something completely different.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I don't know what the hell a person is, right? And so the AI had to learn what all these things are. And so now all these lawsuits that are coming in, makes sense. Yeah, but we taught the thing. When I say we
trained it.
Humans trained this kind of what do you want to call it? It's not even living.
Yeah, like synthetic
this
logic framework.
Yeah.
Like what?
We just told it these things based off the internet.
Yeah.
But like if you go back to someone in the 80s, they're not going to draw you a flat screen TV like this. They're going to draw you like huge CRTs.
Right.
Or like a monitor that's a CRT. Because they've never seen a flat screen TV. But if you go to a kid today and you ask them, can you show me what is the phone? Like, what is a phone? They'll show you like an iPod or an iPhone.
Yes.
They've never seen flip phones.
Yes.
So it's based on what you've seen in the past, which makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah. And I think it is going to be creative in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to unlock other people's creativity because it'll inspire them to think of things that they've never thought before.
Right.
And that is going to be like another power of it is
Unlock.
like we're all, I think, very similar.
Oh.
We're all structured. First of all, we're all mammals, right?
Yeah.
So like we could just start there. And so I think we're all having very similar ideas. And I think that we're all trying to predict the future in a certain way, even just like automatically, like, what are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do next month, year, blah, 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 blah. And in those considerations, we come up with ideas, and they can be products. We're going to have, now you can edit an image. First, we're going to make it so that you can take a prompt and style it and get a cool image.
Right.
Now we're going to make it so that you can.
There's all these other things you can add on. Eventually, there'll be newer models that can do other things that can be like, I don't know. There's all sorts of things. I can't even come up with things that are going to come out.
Exactly.
Because
because you haven't been exposed to them yet.
Exactly.
Like, once you're exposed to the new ideas, the new frameworks, the new physics, whatever it's called, then that's going to get the brain juices going, and you're going to dream up all sorts of stuff.
Creativity is unlocked.
It's unlocked and unlimited. It's unlimited. And so, yeah, man, your company is going to unlock the creativity of a lot of people. It unlocked my creativity, that's for sure.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with me.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's been such a fun talk. I mean, we'll have to do it again sometime. I have so many AI questions.
Cool. I'll come back with better facts.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let's pump Wombo as much as we can. W.com, Wombo, Dream App, W.ai.
Dream.ai. Wombo.ai.
I'm going to get back in there, man, especially now that you're getting to edit images. That's going to be so cool.
The new models are insane. So we just recently got our generation times down like crazy. But then we got this new unlock that we just added for free again. And it's been bumping up our usage like crazy. It is so fun to see like just all the crazy shit people come up with on the feed.
Love your business. I love your business.
It's fun stuff.
Let's fucking go. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for joining us.